Everybody's attention here for just a minute. We're gonna table the rest of the fire department discussion when we gather more information. But in the meantime, I'm gonna pass around a couple of different folders. One is the minutes. Take one and pass it down, and it'll come around here. It should be enough for everybody with a couple of things. We made so many notes in the fire section of the budget that I created an entire new one with all the correct information that we talked about. Take the entire section out of your current budget books, put this in for fire.
I'll take that.
This is the fire and EMS summary list. I took the old, made the corrections on this, take the old one out, put the new one in. Fiscal year 24 expense report. Okay. Wait. On the revised fire that's being passed around, would you highlight the changes that were made, or we have to do a hunting search? I did not think to highlight that.
Oh boy, more thought.
Fiscal year 24 expense report.
Okay.
Fiscal year 25 expense report.
Oh.
Well, you guys asked for all this last week.
Thank you.
I'm just going around that.
Summary page. No, there's a new one coming around. There's a new one coming around. Yeah. Well, I don't.
I would put it right on top. Should we?
You just leave right there.
Yeah, they are. I'm gonna go. No, one is FY24, one is FY25.
Over the other corner with the Lincoln. There you go. The other corner.
Yeah, okay.
Well, what's the difference between this and that?
And
Did you get one?
I don't know.
that's in there.
That's just
The 20. Did you get it? Yeah, I got it.
The folder says what year it is.
I know this.
Yeah, it's 24.
Be on that folder. 24 is coming around first.
Thank you.
Did anybody see?
I got an extra, budget minutes, the minutes, and I got an extra, tip one.
No, I've got extra. I've got mine. Oh, that's the one that was.
Oh, really?
I don't get my passport until Wednesday.
That's what I would have.
No, not my brother. Thank you. It seems like. Okay.
Right, I think that's
Sydney to Brisbane, and then I got was come taking the train down and we'll drive together up the buffet. That's kind of like that. So, 24 hours. Yeah. Sydney, Brisbane to Bangladesh.
I'll make a quick introduction here. This is the police chief presenting the police department budget.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I motion that we approve the minutes.
Which was seconded, all those in favor? Right, 11-0. 11-0. Okay. We will get started on items 001, 00001 wages, 0002 overtime, part-time wages. 0006 wages tuition for MCJA, and 0160 event wages. Any discussion or comments anyone has on those items? Yeah, go ahead.
I've looked at the budget. Yeah, proposed fiscal year 2027 budget is about 33% above the approved 2025 budget. That's at least 5 times the rate of inflation. I think everybody's time would be best spent by sending this back to the drawing board with a target.
I think I'd like to understand the reasoning and the rationale and how the budget is pulled up to try and understand where it's at. So,
Okay. Yeah, I can't speak to what the budget was before I was here, right? I can't speak to where it was, why it was where it was at. I can only speak to what I'm doing. So, I mean, I can honestly say, I think if you look back at some of the budget that we had, it probably wasn't appropriately funded back then. And,
Nice to meet you.
oh, nice to meet you.
How long have you been before?
I've been here since January of last year. So, and before that, I was the deputy chief in Old Town for, well, I was at Old Town for 18 plus. So I think that's hard for me to speak to what the budget was before I got here, right? So I'm working off of what the budget was last year. I did do the budget, it's in the budget committee, some of you were on it. And I proposed what I thought it needed to be. I think some of it's strange to me how maybe some of the some of the stuff that I would consider capital, the way I've done capital before, is in the budget. Like that doesn't make sense to me. Like I'm asking for maybe like one of the things is, you know, AEDs for the cars. So the external defibrillators, it's a common thing that every department usually has in their cruisers. We don't have. I've looked at some grant stuff to try to get it. I haven't been able to get it. That's why I didn't ask for it last year. That to me is a capital item because it's just once. I'm going to buy it once, right? But
You're not alone in your confusion about that.
okay, so
Great discussion about.
yeah, so to me, and same thing with the cruisers. I get that it's a lease option, but it's in my operating budget, so that's inflating that's inflating the budget. So you know where it was. So, and I mean, I think wages are a big thing, and this year is a contract year. So we're going to have to negotiate this, and it's not something that I've just picked numbers out of the air on where I think they should be at. I've taken the MMA wage studies, and I don't take York PD and try to compare it to us. It's not apple or orange. I'm taking like communities and comparing to what their wages are and taking wages. And even that MMA study is sometimes difficult to figure out because they just give you one wage where there's multiple years and multiple steps. So taking some other contracts that I have and looking at those and trying to compare those wages. So, I mean, I honestly think in this day and age with professional police departments, this is what things cost.
Can you explain a little bit, I think, last year, the year before, during negotiations, some of the rules changed, which requires to get more officers or pay a lot more overtime. Are you aware of that concept?
I'm not sure. I mean, I can tell you why I think we have the reason why we should have the officers that we have, and it's a safety issue. I mean, we're putting officers out on the road, or we had been, and we still are, because it's taken for in a year and a half. I have one officer that's fully trained and out on the road, meaning that I've hired. Since I've hired, it takes almost a year to train that person and get them up to the staff, because you have to hire them, they have to go to the police academy. So, for example, I'll take one of the newest officers, Officer Nick Milner. He was hired in June, had to hire him in June so that I could get him on the list for the academy. Academy doesn't start till August. So I'm paying him to basically, he can't do anything. Like, I mean, but I have to hire him to get him on the list. At that point, when he gets on the list, he's a number on the list for the academy. And luckily the academy list has been going down, but for several years, it was a waiting list to get in. Then they go to the academy in August, they graduate in December, and then they've got to do 4 months of training, 4 or 5 months. And then they're out on their own, right? And I will tell you that still we're running one officer because we're down 2 people right now because of personnel issues. And so we're still running one officer. And that officer, Nick Miller, he's a great officer doing a good job, but he needs supervision. He needs guidance. It takes 3 to 5 years for a police officer to really feel comfortable doing the job. There's still times where I get a call and I'm like, geez, how are we going to deal with this, right? And so we're asking these kids to make really complicated decisions sometimes. And so having the right number of officers on helps that.
And you said you had to hire them and then pay them for a period of time and then send them to school.
Send them to the police academy, yeah.
So what did you give them some job assignments?
Yeah, so they've been scanning. I counted in the Connex box the other day, and there's still over 100 things. So basically I'm trying to get rid of the things in that Connex box. I know you guys have talked about the Connex box. I've had 2 interns so far since I've been here working on that sort of thing. But yeah, they do certain things. They'll do their training. They can do some online training stuff. They can do some ride along stuff. They just have no police powers. There's certain rules on so I can't hire somebody off the street and give them a gun and put them out on the road with an officer. Even to be training, they have to follow into certain guidelines, and they're pretty strict on.
That was one thing when we took the tour the other day, is they got a background to be allowed to use the shuttle and stuff, so. I believe your stuff with some of the storage.
Yes, so that storage unit, when I got here, I found out about the storage unit. So a couple problems. One, all that stuff's criminal information. So only certain people can have access to that. And so to be in our police building, you have to have fingerprints, you have to have a background. So if you have unescorted access into our building, so that's the same thing. So I made it so that only certain people could go in there. And I think they have the CJIS access to be able to go into that. But I still don't like it. So my objective is to get all those files out. And there's files for a long time.
So when we were talking about the officer who was hired before going to the academy. Does the contract have a different rate of pay for that person?
Yeah, so the way the contract reads right now, it's whatever the wages minus 50. I think.
So even during the academy, he's getting the same wage, but he's not.
He's not a blue pin.
No.
So that's what we call an academy grad, is a blue pin. So basically they get a little. But yeah, so they don't get that same rate of pay until they get out of it.
The third, my history might be dated here. I participated in the committee 500 years ago, but the town used to rely quite heavily on part-time officers. Very true. What's our?
So right now I have one part-time officer.
Mhm.
And he isn't really working shifts. He provides a service for me as he's a firearms instructor. I don't have another firearms instructor, so he does a lot of that stuff, that sort of training for that sort of thing. The problem with part-timers, and I'll tell you, it switched years ago, was to be a part-timer, there's 3 phases. So the first phase, anybody can do. You can get online and take the first phase, and it's just a lot of information about policing and certain things and how to do things. The second phase, for anybody to go to the second phase now, they have to, one, pass PT test. So that's one of our bigger issues, even hiring. So the PT test, and that PT test is the run, sit-ups, and push-ups, and that.
Yeah, I'm not interested for myself.
Okay, but they have that for their age and their gender, and then if they pass that, then they pass a background, so they have to be sponsored by an agency, so that they have to actually pass a background. We don't want anybody just going to phase 2, which is what we call it. And then after phase 2, they can do phase 3. And phase 3 is actually they get a job and they do the field training. And they have to work for a certain amount of time as the field training officer. It really changed years and years ago when they had an officer involved shooting. I think it was in Washburn. And because of the amount of training that really the police officers have. And it's super hard to keep up with all the training. And I find with part-timers, it's hard because, okay, we hire a part-timer. What's their end goal, right? Are they at what they're looking for? They just want to be a part-time officer for the rest of their career. And they can't do certain things. So they can't investigate certain crimes. They can't get police changes, but really the liability now, we really limit that. So there's certain things they can't do. And then there's just lots of training they have to keep up with. And that's hard to do. I know East Millinocket still has some part-timers. It's just not I don't think it's as feasible.
And when we met with you, didn't you mention that they have to have the polygraph to a certain time?
Yeah, so and I forgot that, thanks. So basically after phase 2, when they get hired by us, they have to do a polygraph, a psychological, they have to do everything else that a full-time person. There's a lot of steps, and so we're spending a lot of money just to get this person as a part-timer, and hopefully they stay. Now I do have one part-timer that I'm working on because I know what he has for a full-time job. He just wants to do his part-time, and I'm not going to lose that person. But really, he's just that extra person that we can use for certain things.
And they have to go to the academy too, right?
They have to go to that. That's the phase 2. So basically, so the first part is online, self-paced. The second part is 2 weeks, and then they do the field training with the field training.
So you said you built in a raise in the hourly wages for the upcoming contract negotiations.
Yeah, I kind of just tried to figure that out.
In the past, Dennis, have we done that, or we've allowed the council to make that decision later and budget more money after the contract's been signed?
We've done it both ways. The contract wages in the upcoming contract is a variable. I agree with Chief Miller on putting it in here, so we can try to get as close to accurate.
But doesn't that reveal to the officers what we plan on negotiating?
I don't think so. I don't necessarily say that's, I think that's something that needs to be negotiated. I mean, I honestly think this is fair. So, it's not like we're trying to be the highest paid police organization. It's pays one thing, but also how we create the culture of our police department is another. So that's how we're going to keep it's making sure that we have a good department with good supervision, good leadership, good equipment, that sort. That's just huge high wages stuff.
When you started, how many people was on staff, and then after you started, you had was flat,
since I started, so I've added 4 people, but that was
Prior to you coming, we had 4 last.
4 vacancies, yes.
With you.
Well, I didn't bring them with you, but I wish I could have, but yeah, I had 4 vacancies that
And this was a need that the town thought they needed, or was this something?
This was-
you thought?
this was in the budget,
It was in the budget.
It just, they just never could fill these positions. So I mean, and every police agency is having the same problem. There's a police agency just south of us that still has 3 openings and they can't fill it. You know, so it's not like people are coming in the door. I really have to I really work my butt off to get and promote the Lincoln Police Department, to get people to come work.
So you currently have 13, and you go up to point,
Yes, I believe so.
so we went from about 25%.
Well, it was in the budget. So it was in the budget before. It just, it never got filled.
I'm just trying to set the
Yeah,
stage.
yeah.
So it increased.
Resource officer now as well.
Yeah, so I don't understand. We put the whole thing in for the resource officer. Where. That's what before Melissa left, I had it in there as half, but basically, Melissa wanted me to put the whole thing in there, and then that's revenue from school. And we can talk about school resource officer in a minute too, because that's an issue as far as kind of what the school wants to do. So, but so if you look at the other thing I just want to mention is the retention bonus. So that's something that was in their last contract. So it was something to I've never been a big fan of a bonus for somebody coming in. We're trying to, so they did this retention bonus before I got there in the contract. So they would get a certain amount of money for 5 years for staying at
One time.
well, once a year they were getting that for that 5-year period. So a lot of them it's gonna run out for. I want to just get rid of it and just work with the wages, and you don't need the retention. So, but I have to take that out. Right, so that's part of the negotiation.
So you get a person that is interested in joining. The time you say, yeah, he's a good candidate, the time he's a full-time officer, how much money does the town spend to give him up to?
So. It's around $60,000. For individual, yeah. So, just so you. So there's a state law came around in about 2000 where, so we put somebody through the police academy. And it's actually, but it's kind of a pretty good deal as far as when we send somebody to the police academy, they charge us $3,500. So that person stays Monday through Friday at police academy. They get meals, and everything, and that's included in that $3,500. And we're paying their wage, but that's what we pay the police academy to send them to the police academy. Now, when they get out, they're worth a certain amount of money. So the academy has and it's a breakdown on which year you graduate from the academy on what you call it. For example, if somebody left our police department and they were an academy grad, if they went to another police department in Maine, that police department would have to pay us $50,000. So you can see it costs us more to even put this person through the academy and everything. But this is what the state says. All right, after within that year, if you leave, you have to pay them. So you can even see if we got somebody that was a blue pen, an academy grad, and wanted to come here, it's worth paying for them because you're getting an already trained officer, and you're saving.
That 3,500, is that per week?
No, that's
Total.
Oh,
Is that, the wages we pay him, is that time and a half for training?
no, and we don't pay them any overtime. you know, that's a pretty standard thing, but like they're getting 40 hours a week. And it's kind of a standard thing across, across all the departments that they pay just the 40 hours.
So 3,500 for the class, and yeah, I assume they'll stay down there.
Yeah,
Largely.
Yeah, I mean, it, police academy supplemented through, one of the things that the police academy, how they get funding is through tickets. So like, when we write a traffic ticket, we don't see anyone. Right, so that all goes to the.
Byron, you had something there?
If I could give a little background, I was a reserve officer in 1990, maybe even for about 8 years. And I went and did the census from 1990 on for the town of Cook. And those are around. 1990, it lists 5,500 people. 2000 was 5,200 people. 2010 was 5,000 people. 2020 was 4,800. What was 2000? 5,200. So it's dropped nearly 1,000 in that span from 90 to 2020. When I worked, we had 7 full-time officers, counting the chief, and we probably had 6 to 10. I can't remember all the names of reserve. And the reserves then, don't know if it's one of the requirements now, but they actually posted a 100-hour course in town with the police department. And those quite a few people took it. The reserves had to qualify just like the regulars every year for firearms. And we filled full shift. We filled night shift, day shift, whatever happened to come up. Probably 6 that regularly filled a complete shift. Now, that's 7, and we have 16 total, counting chief, sergeant, detective, 11 patrol officers, and a resource officer. I'm not sure why population declining. We had mill that paid very good wages at that time too. We have gone to the manpower that we have right now. I just wanted to give you those figures to think about. I'm not saying it wasn't needed or we didn't need 1 or 2 more at the time, but that's the figures we had when I started. Police department.
Can you say again, what was the full-time and the reserve numbers?
There was 7 full-time officers counting the chief. And I'm gonna say there was 6, anywhere from 6 to 10 reserves. And probably at least 6 of those we took regular shift. We weren't afraid, we weren't anything from traffic, we do a lot of things like that. The high school, the basketball, football game, we just go there.
And the reserves were how many hours per week? Ballpark. Each reserve.
It depended on whether there was games they were doing in the winter time or football in the fall. Regular shift, probably 1 or 2, at least every week that somebody was there.
I would imagine at the time it provided the police department a mechanism to have flex depending on what the need was.
Yeah, if somebody was on vacation, whatever the circumstance. And I might also point out that we had 2 everyday cruisers and 1 high mileage that sat except for special occasions, special needs. I don't know what the count is now, but I counted 5 marked SUVs down there this week when I stopped in for something. We sure seem to have a lot of road guys, but we have double them in too. It seems like that's really escalated.
Stacy?
Do we know how many ponds were open year round at that time and how many of those were covered? Because like Folsom, Crooked, now you can get into those all full time and they didn't even have houses on it at that time. So that is, I'm just making a point, that is one difference of the amount of roadage.
We're bringing up 2 different, we have 9 new subdivisions around those parts, so I've been doing every one of them this week to do, flow land zone. You're on those roads,
can't go fast in the cruiser anyway, but you're trying to get back here to somebody. For me to go meet somebody at Bella Luna today, I came out from the pond, it took me 29 minutes to get to Bella Luna. Because I'm on a dirt road the whole, so you gotta think about how much more it takes for an officer to have, and you can't just have one on a time to cover it, like people don't. Yeah, have those couple things.
And that's a good point. I mean, the other day I worked with Shep, and I like to see people in person, right? So the complainant that called in, I went and dealt with the call for them, gave somebody a harassment warning. And I was gonna go talk to the complainant, and I put it in the GPS on where this was. It's gonna take me over 30 minutes to get there. I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's gonna take me, I'd love to go talk to the person, but I'm gonna have to go 30 minutes out, 30 minutes back. I'm not gonna be, the only officer in the town of that. So, this town is massive, and I never realized.
Chief, I'm looking at the 2025 annual report that you sent out via email. And there's a nice table in there that shows the number of incidents that you guys responded to per month. And it looks like for 25, there's an uptrend there. It starts in the lower 200s and kind of goes up around 350, I guess. And, December was, I guess, maybe an anomaly at like 539 responses. So I guess I'm wondering if you can tell us more about whether that trend is continuing to increase into 2026. Are you guys responding from more incidents? And if so, is it because, the population seems to have grown, or is it just that you guys are, investigating things that maybe previous?
I think we're doing more, right? So like, I think when I came here, I had some expectations for people and what we were gonna do. And I think I did, making sure people are being more proactive and doing things. Now, I will tell you that there are departments that will inflate numbers. You can start cards or an incident or anything, right? And I'm not about that. Like, so if we're, there's another agency that says they have thousands and thousands of calls, and there's no way. So they have more calls than us and Old Town combined. So it's not possible. But what you're seeing, I think, is one, we're getting more people out there doing more things, doing their job, but trying to be more proactive.
But you don't think the amount of crime is growing, or?
I mean, I think not so much the amount of crime, but as we get to fuller staff, we can be more proactive with drug stuff. Like we're reactive on a lot of stuff right now, because even you look at like an OUI. So there's going to be one person on here after 6 o'clock tonight, and she'll probably get it OUI. She's really good at it. But the problem is there's so much to do with an OUI. So you stop the car, you got to do field sobriety. So hopefully you're doing field sobriety, trying to pay attention to this person. Is there a person in the car? So you have to pay attention to that. And then, all right, so we arrest this person. Now we have a car on the side of the road. Maybe we have extra people on the side of the road. What do we do with these extra people? We're going to tow the car, because most likely these people are also been drinking, so they're not going to drive. So now we're by ourselves. We got to tow the vehicle. We have to do a vehicle inventory on the vehicle. This guy's in the back of the cruiser still, and he's intoxicated. So the longer we're waiting to get back to the station, the longer we haven't done an intox, right? And then we have to come back to the station. Now, again, we're by ourselves in the station. We have to wait 15 minutes because that's the wait period before we do the intox. And we do the intox, and then we have to decide, okay, can this person bail from here? Because if they can't bail from here, now I've got to call somebody in, the on-call person, and they have to come man the town while I take this person to jail and then come back. So there's just so much. And policing's just evolved so much. There's just so much more paperwork, and things aren't like they used to, for sure. Even when I started in the early 2000s, it's just not the same.
So is there no longer 2 on staff at night?
Just right now, there's just not enough. I still don't have enough people up. I have one still on FTO right now, and then I have 2 in the police academy right now. Okay. So, and then I have 2 that are up. So that's where the problem is. So sometimes there's 2 people on, but right now there's not.
The target is to have 2 people.
Yeah, I was just wondering.
Yeah. Yes.
If
Circling
this,
back to retention bonus, you've got listed 13. I thought I heard you say the pension bonus was for the first 5 years.
Yeah, so we're still within that 5 years. So that we got offered, what, 3 years ago in that contract, I think, or it might even got, yeah, it's offered, I think, 3 years ago in the previous contract. So they get $2,000 a year
All 13?
every year, every one of them, yeah. Still, yeah, I don't think it's run out yet for any of them.
All list of your officers are all within 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem too,
I
right?
got a lot of turnover.
Right? I think there's only one full-time officer that has 5 years.
Mary?
I should, 5 years with our. Maybe we have like with that Jacobs, that's.
So if I'm looking at your staffing, assuming everybody was well and out of the academy and all the rest of it, you basically have 4 shifts of 2 officers.
Two shifts, so they work 12-hour shifts. So the goal here, and this was before I got here, was to have 2 on each shift and have the supervisor that was in the middle. So if we're in full complement, I have 2 officers that work 6 to 6, 2 officers that work 6 to 6, so 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. with the sergeant that's in the middle from noon to midnight.
I was looking at the expended expense report and I see you've only expended 111,000 in overtime. Now, is
Yeah.
that just because you don't have the people to work, or? Cause I see for this next budget, it's got
Way down.
decreased it.
Yeah,
quite a
so,
bit.
I mean, I think if you take all that, like if people were off and you were gonna fill every shift, that's what we calculated it for. But obviously we can't fill all this, like I won't have police department if I forced everybody to work every shift that was open, right? I mean, having just filling just one officer sometimes is difficult, so, I mean, I reduced that significantly for this year coming up, so that, you know. I don't think we would have lost that. It's that overestimated that.
The running rate through, I believe it's the end of March. For overtime is right around $150,000. Do you think that's anomalously low? Running rate means you take what you spent for the first 9 months, but 5 by 9, multiply by 12, so it's an annual.
So do I think it's low?
Yeah, you're $150,000. Probably 270.
Yeah, sure.
238 to apply to it. And I commit, I love it. I just want to know, is it running below budget because?
Well, I think it's running below budget because we just aren't to where we we aren't filling all those shifts, right? So we're in an ideal world, there should be 2 people on all the time. We're running 1 person on. And so, I mean, in an ideal world, that's what, if you're gonna have you got 1 person that's gonna be out at the end of this month for shoulder surgery, so they're gonna be gone for 4 or 5 months. The way this FMLA is changed, now somebody could take 12 weeks, yes, where sometimes before, if somebody had, let's say a male officer, their significant other had a baby, they might take a few weeks off. Now we've got police departments that, and we haven't had to deal with it yet, but there's other police departments, they're taking the whole 12 weeks off. And you can't do anything about it. And they're getting paid. It's that paid FMLA that's come up.
To fill in while they're absent, is there like an organization in the state from which you can hire? Fill it?
That would be great. Like, no, that's not. That would be a great idea. But like everybody's having the same,
Like traveling nurses.
right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's talk about that. We might have a business plan.
For that,
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, I had talked to you about the UCR and you told me there is no UCR and you want kind of
Yeah,
something else.
it's called NIBRS. So it's the,
UCR, what is?
so Uniform Crime Report. So. So. I don't even know, probably the 1930s, they came up with a system to try to track violent crimes and higher end crimes, and that was called UCR. It was studied by the FBI. And it was really an outdated system, even in the 80s. They came up with a new program. Even in the 90s, they had this, what they call this NIBRS, and it tracks more. But the problem with it, and I think I sent you that email, is it's still working through kinks. So one of our systems that we use is called Spillman, and that tracks all our reports, it tracks all our things, and everything has to be coded just right. And that report gets sent to the state, and then that's our NIBRS reporting. So then at the end of the year, what's supposed to happen is we'd have that information to be able to report that back. Now I can do that through my stats that we use now, but and I talked to the lady today. Next week, she and I are going to sit down and see what the issues are, because this is a problem, not with just our agency, with other agencies on how it's being reported. So, and again, it's something where you can over-report things and skew your numbers if you're not.
I can look on for some of that information for Lincoln, and it does show that there are not very many violent crimes in Lincoln, neither are there very many drug reported crimes. So I wondered if there was something wrong with the system and how it's being reported.
Yeah, there definitely is. Not to say that there's lots of violent crimes.
Well, I had asked you about property crimes, because in my opinion, in a rural community, probably you're going to get more property crimes than
we
and other things like that. So you don't have anything that you can take from your Stillman system to show us.
I mean, I can, so I started doing that a little bit for you today. I was busy. So, but basically, and my admin's out this week. She sent me a picture from Florida. So, but yes, the property crimes is going to be a tough one to try to figure out on Spillman, but I'll try to figure that out and see if I can.
An increase in type of crime if we create, the need for more officers and things like that. I'm just trying to figure that out.
Okay.
Yeah, just another thing I noticed in the annual report that kind of ties into what you just brought up was kind of shocked me. It's had a description of incidences where you guys had to use force.
Mhm.
And it said 13% of them involved drugs and alcohol. But what kind of surprised me is it said 67% of them were mental health kind of issues.
Mhm.
So, and I think we're bringing up, it's not the typical kind of crime you were thinking of, but people are in crisis a lot, and you guys have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And that's a service we want our police to provide.
So something that I've been doing too, and we're getting better at it, but anytime we deal with an incident that has to do with mental health, we code that. And then anytime we de-escalate a situation, we code that. So when I say de-escalate, meaning, we're able to defuse the situation without using force, right? I think those are important things. Now, when I got here, there was no use of forces. Like nobody was tracking. And it's something that's standard in policing. Now, I think it happened years and years ago, but it stopped at some point and nobody was doing it. So it's something that I'm really important that we're tracking force. And when we look at force, last year we had 19 uses of force that we used. This year, we already have 60. And some of it's, we're reporting it better, anytime, and a use of force is any time that we use force that's not a normal arrest. So if I say, turn around, put your hands behind your back, and I put you in cuffs, that's not a use of force. But if I say, turn around, put your hands behind your back, and he pulls away from me, and then that's a use of force. So we track all of that. And out of those 16 that we've had so far this year, 11 were the officer was by themselves.
Just
Along the line of thinking, the situation with mental health or child abuse? Does that get kicked up to the state? Reporting?
Reporting like to DHS. Yeah, so it depends, right? Depends on what the case is, on whether what gets reported to DHS. And I don't know.
Area.
I was gonna ask, I know there's a considerable overlap between veteran communities and mental health challenges and concerns, and I know Lincoln is quite a location for veterans. Is that something that you're seeing reflected in your office?
That's a good question. I've never thought of tracking whether or not somebody is a veteran, and use of force. I don't know that.
Right, so I have,
PTSD is pretty rampant.
so I have a question in, I know there's been some council members saying about cut positions and all that stuff. If the council cut positions that were ones that you would be getting reimbursed for, so if you cut the positions and they go somewhere else, do we get reimbursed for that 50,000? Or,
Yeah, you still get reimbursed.
okay. I was just wondering if that's the case, so.
I apologize for jumping in.
No.
In your report online, you mentioned you've got $90,000 in grants.
Mhm.
Will that show up in the report later on as we get into it, or,
In the financial report,
yeah, in the revenue?
I hope so.
I couldn't find it.
Wouldn't that be part of the, we don't usually go over the revenue side of things in detail, but that's where I would expect it to be, isn't that right?
My understanding, it would just go back in that line item. It's not a revenue. I would think it would just go back in that.
Well, it looks like the fire department, that their grant went directly into the line item that it was spent out of, so I'm assuming that it'll have to do it.
I hope so.
I don't know for sure. You couldn't find it?
We had the issue last year, Steve, with the evidence room and gun storage and stuff. I think that was a grant you got.
Yep.
They've got a remarkable storage area now. That's very nice. But that did get solved, at least with some of the things.
You mentioned that nearly all of the officers are less than 5 years. How much of an effect does understaffing have on turnover?
So far, I'm doing pretty good. I mean, we haven't lost anybody since I started. I mean, I have 2 out right now, but I haven't lost anybody as far as leaving the department.
Can you speak to the period where you had that turnover? Did anybody relay to you why they thought that was?
I think it was leadership before, right? So,
Instability in the police chief.
right. Yeah. I mean, I think for that period of time that there was some issues as far as, caring for your employees. I think if you take care of your employees, they work hard for you.
Anybody have anything else?
You want to talk about the SRO for a second?
Sure.
Yeah.
So the SRO, so the school, before we paid 2/3. No,
Before you get into the,
yeah, sure.
is that a position that's currently filled or not?
Yes,
It is.
Yeah. but it's a police officer position, right? So they're just assigned as the school resource officer. So basically the school pays 2/3. Right now is what the deal was. I think they pay 2/3, we pay 1/3. I met with the superintendent. They talked about cutting the position. She looked at like they probably only used the SRO half the time, so they were willing to pay for half and then it came basically that they were willing to pay $40,000. So they're willing to pay $40,000. Now that doesn't cover some of the other things, like it covers half her wage, but not the benefits and stuff like that. So something that the budget committee and the council needs to look at is like, as far as, is that something we want to do? Do we want to support that and support them and I mean, I think it's an invaluable service. And judging by is it successful or not. You know, you can't judge, you can't say these kids can do drugs. Drugs, so, you know, just like there was a decision program on drugs, it was make good decisions. So I look at the SRO as the same thing as, you know, there's a safety thing there. Being there, you know, provides that extra layer of safety. You know, have we prevented things or have we helped make sure things are more secure? That's hard to judge, right? Because, you know, if we don't have an incident, then that's definitely difficult.
That SRO is at the school whenever the school is open?
Yeah.
Is that the idea?
That's the idea. Sometimes we've had to pull her back in order to cover shifts. So,
And which school building or
so it's supposed to be all of them.
so the SRO
Right, they have
rotates.
they have an office in the high school, but they're supposed to, that's where a lot of the stuff happens. And we just kind of had that discussion with the SRO is like, you know, 70% of your time should probably be spent at the high school, 15% at the middle school, 15% at the elementary school. So that's a, you know, it's a tough thing to figure out, like where to be, what to do, like that sort of thing as far as where to spend your time.
Who like dictates what the SRO is doing in the school? Is it the school administration or is it?
So that's an MOU between us. We've talked about that. So I think there's some revamping that needs to happen if the SRO thing continues, because we are in charge of the person. But we're not the ones that see the SRO every day, right? So you've got the school administration. So I think there needs to be some more communication back and forth on that.
I only say that because I've heard a lot of complaints from staff and students because the SRO is just in the office and doesn't like walk the halls. Kids are smoking pot in the bathroom, never get caught, like,
Sure.
and they're never seen in the cafeteria like previous SROs were, like engaging with students, but.
Yeah.
So, like I said, that's why I was just wondering who, like, if the school's dictating it and they're not telling them to
And
do this, then.
recently I just had some conversations with the superintendent and the principal, but again, can't fix what I don't know. Right. And that was kind of the message too, was I don't know about things I can't
Is
fix.
the SRO fully equipped
Yep.
officer?
If she wears the uniform, it's kind of my thing. Like when I started here, sometimes she wouldn't wear the uniform and I was like, all the tools are on the belt. Wear the uniform. That's like the big. Oh yeah. We're always wearing, yes, always that. But yes, basically they have all the tools to do the job.
Did you file a report on what they were
So
with?
yeah, so every week she was always sending me something. Recently, I have a more detailed report of what so basically it just started actually 2 weeks ago. Was a more detailed report on what she's doing, where she's spending her time, that sort of.
To your question. During the school year, the school resource officer was on campus, how many hours a day?
Should be there the whole time unless they have to come back. They can do reports at the school. I mean, she would be going from campus to campus, doing some special patrols in the morning and in the afternoon. Sometimes like running the traffic in the school zones, that sort of thing. But they should be there most of the time.
So does it amount to 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day?
She works 8 hours a day.
8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
5 days.
She only works 8 hours a day, or she works 8 hours at the school and?
No, just 8 hours. She works Monday through Friday, 8, whatever,
Well, that's-
8 hours.
Sounds like full time. Why isn't this school
Because
put the entire?
the school, runs like 180 days or something like that, the school year. So the rest of the time, she's on the road.
Okay, so.
So, like, in the
it's
summertime?
Seasonal.
Yeah, so like in the summertime, she comes back and starts and works the road. School vacation, she works the road unless she took vacation or something like that, but yes.
But during the school year, the school resource officer is on duty 5 days a week.
Yes.
So
Cost of bringing in cheap to have like something to scan and recognize and done in something, just have somebody do a school play rather than some kind of run up things.
I don't know that they're gonna,
I think it's better to have somebody full time doing.
it's that unknown, right?
Road.
Like it's the unknown of what could happen. And the safety part. I mean, it's easy to say nothing's gonna happen,
Right.
till it's something happens, right?
I know if they're doing the vestibule, so there's another set of doors.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be great.
Still you buzz the door, you don't know who's coming in at the fifth one or somebody will come home. What was the program started by the state, would find out what funding.
No, I've done some, so when I was in Old Town, I did a cops grant. And was able to restart the SRO program. We had it for years and years. The mill shut down and we lost the SRO program. And then I was able to get a grant to bring it back.
But I'm curious. You train any teachers or administrators? You do.
Yep,
Well,
yeah,
they're trained,
yeah.
So, okay.
Well, on what?
Just one gun in school.
Oh, no, guns, yeah, no, I don't know if the school people have guns. Sorry, I should have let you answer your question. I thought you were asking like, as far as active shooter stuff, we teach how to deal with that. As far as teachers having guns in school, that would be a school policy. I don't even know that they can. I'd have to look at that because honestly, anybody that's not a law enforcement officer can't have you can't have a gun. Like you couldn't bring your kid to school and be carrying a gun. That would be a one of the few places that you can't have.
Yeah, I think one of the students got in trouble because they had a hunting rifle in their vehicle and was parked in the parking lot.
It was very common back in the day, right? Like,
Yeah, everyone had one.
nobody want to check my trunk. Right? Nobody questioned it.
They weren't locked.
Yeah, questions on?
Yeah. In addition to FICA, what do the fringe benefits run? 40% of,
That would have to be a question though. I don't even see that part because honestly, like I'll tell you, that's another strange thing that I find is that's not in my budget. That's in a different budget, right? Like I would think when I look at most budgets, you see the fringe benefits are in that budget.
in round numbers, that school resource office costs us just during the school year, cost the community somewhere between 95 and 100,000.
How are you figuring that, Dave?
Yeah.
Well, the wages are giving us roughly $38.50 an hour. The officer works 8 hours a day, 5 days a week during the school year at $15. So I figured that's about 40 weeks a year.
180 days a year.
I think so. It's around that.
And then I added FICA and I added 40%.
40%.
Based on looking at other departments.
The number I typically use is 0.54.
Yeah, that's 40%.
I have the cost for the school resource, just for the salary would be 55.40, 560 per 180 days. That's just,
Yeah, it's,
but that also means there's a couple days there when school's closed and I don't think school.
Your salary number was how much?
55, 425, 60 would be the portion that would be out of school.
School days at 180 days after. Okay.
And again, that might be a little just
Yeah.
smidge high because like but it's probably like 5 or 6 days throughout the year.
So it's about roughly $10,000. That person cost the community $85,000 to $95,000 during the school year. That's the school. school responsibilities.
Yeah, and that's certainly a question for you guys and the council. I mean, I think whether it's coming from us or coming from them, there's still a safety issue. And, you know, if they're gonna cut it, no matter what, and that's what's gonna happen. So they're willing to pay 40,000 and that's it. And if they have to pay more than that, they're cutting it. So if we're not willing to cover that, then I guess you'd have to cut it. But
So if that, school resource officer position goes away. Then, what would you be doing to have still some budget?
yeah, sure. So the superintendent and I talked about that. I mean, it's not a personal thing, right? We're still gonna go and be involved in the school. If they call us up to the school, we'll go to the incidents. I think it'd be a good opportunity for some of the officers to go up there sometimes, but I mean, as long as you have to get, you know, have to be at staffing, have to have time to be able to do that sometimes, so.
It wasn't figuring anything in on the cruiser too, because there's a cruiser.
No, that just complicated.
Right, and that runs all day while she's there, so the radio.
Yeah, that's.
Freeway.
Right, it's gonna put in conflict with the yeah,
Right,
yeah,
so I mean,
there's
there's
more
more
than, yes, sir. Absolutely correct.
That's the question. Given that the resource officer is rotating between 3 separate buildings, reasonable distance away from each other. Except the 2 that are next door. What's the practical difference in response time? Should something happen? Between, say, the police station and elevator, or, you know, at that one and have to go to the other.
It's so hard to say. I mean, if the officer's at the high school and something happens at the high school, boom, so, you know, it could be over, right? We could be 40 minutes away too, right? So like, that's so hard.
That's the case, right? And any type of, all you get those, you have to be nearby.
Right. Right, it's one of those chances, and I mean, I can't even say the police station because they're not at the police station, so they're not there a lot, but yeah, I don't know, it could vary, you know. One of those things where it's a what if, like, you know, it could have saved if she's standing right there and somebody comes with a rifle, situation's over, right? Or she's at the middle school and it wouldn't have mattered, and so it's so hard to say.
Say the resource officer, you get 2 more the one typically try to stay more in town.
I don't know that they've ever had that issue. That be able to deal with that. I mean, they were so short staffed for so long trying to, you know, but yes. So sometimes when there is 2 people on, you know, I've never addressed that, but it's something that I addressed in my previous agency. We had like a code that we would call out if we were going out to like a lake area. That way, not 2 people are out in the lake area.
I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
So
Oh, oh yeah, no, it's a good thing. And with the car system, if we get the camera system and the cruisers, they'll be able to see where each other are on the map.
I think I find it funny arguing like the school doesn't want to pay for it. The town doesn't really want to pay for it, but in the end, it's all coming from the exact same place, like taxpayer money. So it doesn't really matter. It's something we need, and it doesn't really matter who pays for it. We had the same issue before with the crossing guard, but the school paid like half and the town paid half. It was always a fight on like, oh, we don't like, we want to pay less than you, like, because, you know, you use it more, but it's all coming from the same exact cost, so it doesn't really matter. In my mind, you pay for it, if it's something that's needed.
And that's how I look at it. It's just a question of what do you think?
Like, it looks better for the town if the school pays for it, it's better for the school if the town pays for it, so.
But if the school's paying for it, the several other towns is helping.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's true too.
Who created that? Was it the school department requesting it? Or
You know, that's a good question.
both agencies together?
It was,
Somebody must have said, hey, we really need to have it.
it was before me, and I think, and we've had several SROs, I think, and it just never, because of staffing,
School requested it.
they did.
They got a grant, so the first year they get on. And we're on our second one. We hired one who now works up to the,
Yeah.
He was the first one, and he was 100% paid for.
Yes. The thing I hate about grants, they, and then.
Right, it's no different than the SRO grant through the COPS grant, it pays for like 3 years. Or pays a certain percentage for 3 years, and then it goes, and then you're supposed to pay.
I have a question about the overtime. You say something about built-in overtime. Can you explain that, please?
Built in, yes. So again, the way the schedule is there's built-in overtime every week or every other week, I think, is on that Sunday because there's not enough coverage. So until we get to the point where there could be an overlap, you're always going to have that built-in overtime.
So this is just like 1 day a week, number of hours?
Yeah, I think it's 6 hours every 2 weeks. I'd have to look at that. The built-in overtime thing always. I never dealt with it before.
The 12-hour shift, so you have 8 hours of standard time and the extra 4 is overtime.
I think some of it's that, but some of it's, there used to be I think their reserve used to work a certain shift on Sunday or a certain amount of time to overlap on that. So I'll have.
Well, I don't think we've always had the 12-hour shifts either, if that's something new.
It's been going on since I've been here. It's pretty much a standard
Since.
thing.
Since 2015. What's the rotation?
So 1 week they work 5 shifts and 1 week they work 2 shifts. So 1 week they work Monday, Tuesday, have Wednesday, Thursday off.
Alternate days.
Yeah, and then they work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then they have Monday, Tuesday off, work Wednesday, Thursday, have Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's really the kind of the standard that every police department has kind of gone to allow for people to have time off and be able to have that weekend off, because before you could never, with the 10 hours or the 8 hours, you could never have and I mean, I've done a bazillion different schedules over the years, never get a schedule that was as good as that one. And honestly, if you didn't have the 12-hour shifts in the way it was, that would be probably a deal breaker for a bunch of people. Yeah, well, I like my 8-hour midnight, so you can have the rest of the day to do stuff.
Just sort of on the. We talked a lot more of the various items, but that's the first one. So I guess I should be waiting for revenues, but you did mention that all traffic tickets go to the state. Is that why? I'm just curious as to what fines and fees are, assuming that's not traffic tickets then.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know what fines and fees are.
I think it's like parking fine, you issue parking tickets.
Not as much as you would think. I mean, not like, well, when I started I couldn't find a parking ticket in the building. So I actually had had to get parking tickets. I mean, there's parking ordinance, but I mean, that honestly, we're not writing very many tickets. I bet, over the course of the year, they probably write 10 parking tickets. So.
And I think the other is like for cost of getting reports, like.
Yeah, that could be it.
report.
Yes, we do charge for getting reports,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yes.
I used to see the police statistics used to get published every month with the town report. Yeah. And I hadn't seen it for a while, and I
Haven't seen that. Like, what do you mean?
literally used to be every month you could see how many stops there had been, how
Oh.
many tickets were issued, and so on.
That's on the monthly reports down at the bottom. There's how many incidents we dealt with that month, how many criminal violations, and how many traffic stops.
But yeah, but it used to be broken out far more granularly. So one of the things I used to see was that, for example, you would write maybe or the department would write tickets in maybe 1 out of 3 stops. So it was curious to see the approach.
Yeah.
But since the revenue all goes to the state, I'm not so worried.
Right.
And we talked about this at that tour too. You're currently sending people to the academy, so this FY 27 budget doesn't necessarily have anybody that you're proposing to go to the academy. This is if you need somebody to go, this is the money that you're proposing it would need to cost.
Correct.
But you're not projecting anybody at this time going.
I guess, I mean, in my career, I've never had a year where I only had one time in the 10 years that I was even one of the deputy chief where we weren't losing 1 or 2 people a year. Like it's just. And
But you just said you've been here over a year and you haven't.
I know. Well, I mean, that's be on this. Be on this now. We can.
All right. Move on to 0007 animal control. Department request was 72.99. And I do believe this one is split between multiple towns now, is that?
Yeah, so last year we did when I came, I had to hire an ACO and then that didn't end up working out. So I thought, let's look and see if the county would be willing to serve us as one of the places. And they took us on as a limited basis for 3 months to see how the workload was for that ACO, the regional ACO that works in Penobscot County. And it worked out well. And I mean, I haven't got any complaints about how it's been handled or done. And it was good because I didn't have to deal with a car and basically I didn't have to worry about training the person like an employee, meaning all the BLS stuff, all the other training, that sort of stuff. We just pay.
Like a contracted service.
Yeah, right. It's contracted services.
So you have no control over the wage or the benefits. That's all county related.
Correct.
This is, they bill you this amount.
They bill me that amount. They bill for mileage and then per time. And it's averaged around, that I think it's averaged around like $1,800 a quarter. So I think that gives us it's a little extra.
So if her rate of incidents were to go up, they would increase the bill for that quarter.
Right.
It's based on incidences.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could have a month where or 3 months where it could go way up because we're dealing with specific incident. But it's worked out so far.
So I'll make a motion in favor of managing the department request. What is that, 17.99?
I second that.
Is that just the one question? We hit mileage before. How long is the mileage rate contracted for? At 57 cents a mile, it's less than the low amount that was already in the budget that we've already adjusted.
Yeah, let me look at that and that might.
$72.50. Supposed to be is the minimum IRS. I'm sure they're probably billing you the minimum of 72.50.
Yeah, she's charging 57.
Oh, well, there you go. Holy cow.
Don't tell her.
ACO mileage, yep.
Yeah.
But it's a
They're probably.
county.
Yeah, they're probably
county
paying her the
vehicle
full
now, too.
amount and you're only being charged.
No, it used to be, but now it is a county vehicle that.
I'm guessing.
Let's go back to the prior page. Great. It suggests that you increases that line moderately to 23.
And what are we talking about? Oh, 0006?
Yes, sir.
Honestly, I don't even know. It's more just fuel now because they've been taking a car, at least these two that have been going this time have been taking their own. I mean, not taking their own car, taking
A cruiser.
the cruise.
I think the 72.5 is personal vehicle because it's a little bit for wear and tear.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Are you in favor, David?
Yes.
Okay. 11-0. 0010, professional development, department requests, $21,000.
Holy cow. The courses are $2,000 each for the officers to attend.
So a class can be anywhere from $0 to $1,500.
Okay.
So it's hard to say. Then most of it's far enough away where they have to stay over. There's
Mhm.
food. You used to be able to stay at the police academy. Maybe at some point you'll be able to do that again, but once they renovate it. But as far as right now, you can't even stay at the police academy. So we have to pay for even a hotel. The academy always charged us something, but it wasn't a rate like a hotel.
So is that something that's done every year, every officer every year?
Oh, the academy? No, I'm just calling if there's a training at the academy. So when we send somebody to the academy, it's called the basic law enforcement training program. Basic. So you're just getting the basics of being a police officer. You then need more training throughout your years to, one, be a better police officer in certain things like interviewing people, right? Everybody needs to know how to interview people. And so there's a special training for that. Like I have a core basic of trainings that every police officer, once they graduate the police academy, my goal is to send them to that. One of them being that, one of them being something called A-RIDE, which is advanced roadside impairment. So they can start seeing what somebody is impaired on, maybe other than alcohol. The interview class, crisis intervention training. That's really important. That helps with de-escalation, that sort of stuff. So there's a core group of classes that every police officer needs when they get out of the basic academy. And then on top of that, there's trainings that we need to send people to that help bring back training to us. And so instructor courses, specialties, those sorts of things. So it really, it varies on the officer.
So I asked because I see 8 staff at 2,000, you said that's the cost for this academy.
No, it's different.
No, this
courses.
is outside of the academy. This is just in-service training. This is just training that officers would need to make them better, continue their education on policing stuff.
So this request is about double, more than double what historically has been spent. And is that because it's just so many more officers we have now that need that ongoing training? Body action training, something you have on the other part.
I mean, it's up from last year a little bit. Basically asked for 1,500 per officer, but yes, so honestly, if
The committee here has the stuff with the free backs off. 1 year?
Yeah.
1 year.
right,
So, we're seeing the history and that's a big spike there,
sure.
line after line after line. And that's what's got us. Having
Right.
heartburn and what's costing with that.
I would say this especially with training. The better the trained officer, the lower the risk of liability. And the one thing that we don't talk about is what could happen is if we're not training officers, right? We get a failure to train, lawsuit from the officer. We get a lawsuit because our officers did something wrong, right? Our officers there's just so much more. When I started here, you had 2 people that were criminally trespassed from the town office and weren't allowed to come to council meetings. Blew my mind. Because that's a huge violation. It's lucky we didn't get sued for it. And so training our officers in these sorts of things so they know that there's so much that there's whole courses on First Amendment audits now and First Amendment and that sort of thing, because there's so many things to it. And you have so many people out there testing the waters, testing that things. I mean, you see it with the school boards. I mean, we dealt with it with our school board, but the same person just, so there's all kinds of liability issues that I worry about. So
I don't think anybody would disagree with the value of training. I guess I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to pace that a little differently. So that, you know, there really critical things that are needed, and then
sure.
maybe temper the budget a little bit by spreading out some of the more discretionary training.
Yeah, and it's difficult. So like I say, we do a lot of online training. I actually have an online training that actually comes out of my line there that deals with supervision. So every month, my supervisors, and I do it too, we do an online training through Eric Daigle. Eric Daigle is one of the foremost people on use of force, First Amendment audits, and that sort of stuff. And they do a training every month that deals with supervisor training. That's online, so that's good. But they also need other training other than that online to make them better.
I just fear that sometimes we train people in the specialized training that maybe they don't get enough use of that training in the small town of Lincoln. And then we're really kind of wasting our money. I don't want to get into training outside of what we really deal with in our community.
Sure, and I know you and I talked about a training that I just sent one of the officers to. It was called Drug Recognition Expert. And honestly, I think we could use 2 or 3 of them. So basically what that is it's easy, well, not easy, but OUIs, when you pull somebody over and get them for alcohol, take them back to station, they blow in an intox, it tells you what they are. With the DRE, you don't do that. I mean, I was a DRE for 10 years, and what it is it's a step process. So you have to be specialized in that. So, and there's a lot of training that comes with that. And I think every department should have at least one. I mean, and it's not that that person's even always available. So they come in after you find out that this person isn't on alcohol and do a 12-step process to determine what category of drug they are on. So we look at 7 different categories of drugs, and every drug does a little like groups. They group them into what they do. So like a CNS depressant is alcohol, but it also could be something that you're taking for medication. And then like narcotics, cannabis, those sorts of things. They don't have a set test that you can blow in and says this person's on that. You have to take blood, you have to take urine, depending on the situation. We're getting to the point where I'm going to probably have to send somebody to phlebotomy class because the hospitals won't. The hospitals are throughout the state are less willing to draw blood, even if it's consensual, of course. So, the southern part of the state has a lot more phlebotomists than maybe we do up at this point, because so far we've been able to avoid that, which is I don't want to blood, but I think we're going to get to that point at some point.
Does the district attorney's office put any classes on at various points? Definitely known for the identification, garage, or this, or that.
So that's our ARI class that we put on through highway safety. And that's just like one of those classes I talked about that once an officer gets out, they would go to that. But yeah, the DA's office doesn't put on any classes.
I wonder, because I appreciate that training is essential, but I also look at it and go, how can we think about ways to bring that cost down? And so as an example, I know that, all of the commercial drivers have to have so much safety training and safety classes. I don't know if there's an overlap because we've got a lot of trucking and commercial vehicle carriers around here. I don't know if there's any overlap, for example, that they bring in a trainer. Can we leverage, perhaps sending the police to a similar class, and that also helps build relationships.
Or I just don't know what. I don't know what class. Like one thing that is always lacking, I think, is EBOC training. And it's because we don't have enough instructors to be able to do it. Some, if you probably ask some of the officers, probably Sergeant Mason, he's been around a long time. I bet you he hasn't had EVOC training. So, I mean, it's things that we need to, and that's why having us go to instructor schools on some of this stuff and come back and be able to teach the rest of the officers. I think that's important.
Is there an opportunity for train the trainer to knock down some of the going away to training?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's some, but there's just so many different things that people need to be trained on. Like I needed to send somebody to intox instructor school. So they know how to run, they know how to teach intox now. So they can come back and certify the rest of us in that every 3 years, because you have to do a class, and then you have to do certain amounts of tests in order to keep your certification in that. So it's same thing with like a MARC instructor. So MARC is our self-defense. Having a MARC instructor every year, we have to do mandatory training on MARC. The last 3 years, it's been a mandatory topic. So you bring them back and they teach us in MARC, in self-defense training. So, I mean, we are doing that. That's part of that is sending them to training. Taser, same thing. Every year they need to do taser. We're sending somebody to taser instructor, having them come back and teach us on the taser.
Just by looking at it, you can tell you, if you're only sending, I mean, yours, but then 8 people, you've got 13 officers, so you're not sending every single officer for training, you're doing the.
No,
training-
right,
training
like
trainer.
and that's why. Right, so there's those types of trainings to get up to that.
I just think, like I said, the small amount that we're paying in training versus one First Amendment audit that someone does, that something happens, and then there goes a couple $1 million in a lawsuit, so. I think it's money well spent, so.
The hours that you have for training hours, you get something 30 hours for 8 men to go to training.
Yes, I don't know where.
5 men under overtime. Training,
You have training on
yeah, that's overtime.
Okay,
5 times 40 hours. I was gonna ask if the professional development budget, is that overtime or is that just the tuition?
that's just tuition. Tuition, food, and
The cost?
And- I mean, it depends on what we have for coverage, on what needs to be filled, what doesn't need. Right, and it would depend on how the staffing was, what we needed to help.
George,
There you
we have lots of small departments in the area, Millinocket, East Millinocket, Old Town. There's no way to have an instructor in this area to reduce the cost of like mileage or,
Sometimes that happens, sometimes it works out. We've done that in the past sometimes with that things, but then sometimes it doesn't work. Like I can't do it on that day. Well, this is when I can do, this is when I have my people that are available to do the training. So having our own person be able to do it
yeah,
it's so hard to rely on other people. Now, in certain situations, yes, we've done that. In other situations, it just doesn't. It's really, if we can be self-sufficient, it's so much better for us.
I'm gonna make a motion for 15,000 for this line.
Second. I would second that. Made seconded, any other discussion?
I did one more quick question. On you spent 15,000 today. Do you anticipate more for the year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Much?
I don't, I have to look. I know there's a lot of training still coming up for our officers.
You know,
I don't know exactly how it's going to be, but it definitely, there's definitely more training that's coming up. That people are going to school. I'm sending a couple people to field training to be able to train the newer officers. And I'm sending somebody to something called methods of instruction, which it's a prerequisite if I could talk, to be able to go to firearms instructor. So you have to learn how to teach before you can go, so you have to go learn how to be an instructor before the academy will let you go be a firearms instructor. So basically that's another thing that's coming up. So some continuing education training on the drone that we have. Those are a few of the trainings that are coming out. Somebody's going to taser instructor. That's actually in Bangor, so that'll be good.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed?
1, 2, 3.
7-4. Item 0011, professional membership, the department request $20,549.
So I'm looking at this one.
Yeah,
It's not all memberships, right? There's a lot of software. in
Yeah.
the complex.
sure. Yep.
Tremendously expensive software.
It is for sure. Some of it is, yes.
3 packages through Power are over $15,000 alone.
What is it?
So you've got Power DMS,
Oh, yeah.
Power Ready, Power Time.
Yep.
At 15,000 at 205 per year. Can you tell us what those systems do?
Sure. You want me to just go down through and tell you what everything is?
That would be great.
Okay, all right, so I kind of got that. So the Adobe's for, obviously, probably most people are familiar with kind of the Adobe software. So the Adobe's for like redacting reports, stuff like that, instead of taking a marker and not like it's legit. So it saves time too. You can also say so-and-so's name and it takes it, it covers all of them instead of, making a mistake, right? And then releasing something that you shouldn't have released.
So that's just Acrobat.
Pretty much, yep, that and it deals with we can make some, it's like Adobe Express, I think is part of that. So you can make some posters, stuff like that, recruitment stuff, that sort of thing. The next thing is something called Asset Tiger. So basically every piece of equipment is tagged and documented so that we know what we have for equipment now. Yes, that's exactly what it is. And basically everything's assigned to somebody. And what we do every year is I actually, and we put this in Power DMS, and we'll talk about that. But basically, so every officer signs off on all the equipment that they have. So it's
They're annual one?
yes,
Or,
yeah, these is an annual fee.
so you gotta pay up every year.
Just on Acrobat, unless you have a discount, you're about $100 short for 2 licenses.
Okay. I'm not sure. Maybe we have a special police rate. I don't know.
Right.
This is the same one that we did with my budget, it's $23.99 a month. Okay, same when you got the Acrobat Pro.
And I know there's different ones with that. The Clear, what Clear is the thing to, it's an investigative tool for us. And we pay one fee for that. And every officer can use it. So it helps us investigate, find things. So like if we have our own system, but like say we're searching for somebody and we're looking for an address, or we're looking for a phone number, or we're looking for who they might have some relationship to.
So the background check.
It's well, kind of. We can't use it for backgrounds, but for an employee background, but we can use it to investigate like certain crimes, trying to find people and stuff like that. So that's what that is. That's a pretty standard thing that people have. Frontline. So basically that's a use of force tool for us. So every time we use force, the officers use this program to fill out, and it tracks the complaints. It tracks what they're doing for that use of force. It also helps us track trends if there's an issue, right? Kind of an early warning system for us. It helps with accountability. It helps with our investigations. So every time somebody does this use of force, it goes to the supervisor. The supervisor would then investigate it, basically meaning it depends on the level of force. So we have different levels, different tiers of force. So like a level 1 force would just be like an arm bar. A level 4 force would be we use the firearm. So different levels of force require different investigative tools for us. And we have a policy on that that says and shows us and tells us how we do that. Once it's reviewed by the supervisor and investigated by the supervisor, which includes, investigating it, looking at it, reading the report, ensuring that they're using the right wordage, watching the video to compare what was said to what is actually done. Then it comes to me, and then I review and pretty much do the same thing. And then I approve it from there. The law enforcement street references, those are just deals with the fine amount. So every year, different fines get different amounts. So that just
Reference material for
each officer, yep. Next one, main chief's dues. So this is to be part of the main chiefs. It's the mine that line and the next line are the mine and the supervisor's dues. To be part of the chiefs associations, to be able to go to their, be able to be part of their, go to their trainings that they have. And then they also, it's used for, part of the dues is helping us with certain things. So like lobbyists, right? So they're going and lobbying for certain bills and certain things at the legislature. So that helps with us with that. The next one is the main law enforcement accreditation program. So MLEAP. So we're in the process of being MLEAP accredited. So that's one of the programs that we're using down lower to help us with that accreditation. And basically we pay that $550 a year to be in that program. It actually just pays the service fee for the company that runs the accreditation for the main chiefs. So that it just helps offset that a little bit. And so that they pay this company to oversee the accreditation process. The accreditation process is actually run through the main chiefs. I'm actually lucky to be one of the 5 chiefs in the whole state that are on the accreditation committee. So I see every accreditation that somebody does and I read every report. So I got that ability to be on that because I have a lot of experience with accreditation. I've done a lot of accreditations in different agencies. And then I've also just, Old Town was actually the first department ever to be accredited with this main MLEAP program.
What's the
what-
benefit of
yeah.
accreditation?
So few benefits, right? There's 164 standards that you have to meet. It's a best practice. So one, you're doing the right things, ensuring the right things. So like the evidence room is, when I got that grant for the evidence room, was so that the guns could be in a secondary secured location. So one of the requirements for accreditation is guns, money, and drugs are a big thing. So the guns, money, and drugs have to be in a secondary locked location. So for example, the evidence room is accessed by 2 people. One's the detective, one's the sergeant. I don't even have access. The reason I don't have access is if something bad happens, you're not investigating me, so that's really important. So it's a best practice. It also saves us 25% on our liability insurance for the police department. And then I think it just makes us a better police department, by all understandings. The next thing is NESPIN. So NESPIN's a New England New England group that we use, that we can that fee helps us. We've already probably got our money back. So we used it a while ago for a forensic auditor. So they have a forensic auditor. So we were dealing with a Bitcoin issue and we were able to use that person to do some forensic auditing for us. So for $100, it was worth, already more than we got. So it also does some stuff where we can sign in and look at other pawn shops throughout the area and see if their name's in there that we're looking for something. So try to track things. So it's an investigative tool.
So that's a software tool? Or-
Well, so no, it's a group, and basically throughout New England, And it's an information sharing thing. So like they also have other equipment that we can use. So if we needed a pole camera, we can say, hey, can we use the pole camera? And they'll bring that up. They actually have a van. So
Membership to a co-op.
yeah, so they actually had a van. They have a van too. I used that once, and it, like, so they have things to do surveillance, stuff like that to help us with that sort of thing. So it's kind of worth that. Police One training. So Police One is our online training program platform that we use. So this deals with all our BLS stuff. It deals with our mandatory trainings that we need every year. So with law enforcement, they have mandatory trainings they have to take for like case law updates, new law updates, and then they usually pick 3 or 4 things that you have to do. So that's the Police One that deals with all those types of training. So it used to be back in the day where we talk about the DA's office, we'd go to the DA would do these trainings. Now it's all online.
So why do we have 15 again? We only have,
I don't. Oh, so that's with the reserve officer and
Oh,
the
okay.
admin assistant. She still has.
Doesn't that be up in professional development? With training activity, I guess it's 6 1.
6-1.
Yeah,
that doesn't-
yeah, I think it's been in both since I've seen it. Next one is called policies through Derigo. So we have over 85 policies, and it's hard to keep up with those. So this company actually keeps up with policies. So for example, we had yellow flag, now we have red flag. So we need a policy for that. Instead of us trying to figure out our own policy and make sure that it's legally sound, we're paying this company to provide us those policies. Like today, one came out actually on the new immigration rules. So like what we can do and what we can't do for immigration stuff, and that law that came out. So it just, there's so many little things that come out that trying to update them all the time is very difficult. So that's that we pay that company to, and they have people that review it. One of them used to be a judge that reviews all these policies to ensure that they are legal and they're sound. So that's, we use them to be able to do that. So now we're down to our 3 programs that Mary was talking about. So Power DMS. Power DMS is a program that is used throughout, probably most of the police departments have Power DMS. It keeps all our policies, manages all our policies. So meaning, what I mean by that is that's where all our policies are. So for example, when a new policy comes out, the person that is working with the Derigo policy thing will put it in our program. I review it, I approve it, and then the officers will then, it'll be in their inbox for them to look at and for them to sign. It also works on, I also do it for, we also do policy quizzes every 2 weeks. So they get a new policy quiz on a certain topic so that they're up to speed on different types of policies. It does, and basically this is how we run our accreditation as out of this. So all the 164 standards, we deal with that through that. This keeps track of all the training that we do. It also tells an officer when, like, hey, your taser ran out or your case law review is up. So it basically sets that reminder to ensure that we're not behind. You know, for example, when we had that police shooting last year, we had, I just started here and there was one officer that hadn't had the taser in 3 or 4 years. So this keeps track of that and ensures that we're doing the right things. Power Ready deals with our whole training program as far as field training. So field training, when you build it, it basically has everything that we need to do for that training. So for example, and it counts for what they're doing. So, and we call it daily observation reports. So like there's 540 things that the trainee has to do to ensure that they get through all their training. And there's probably even more than that, but that's what the most recent count is. So like, for example, the officer did a traffic stop today. You'll take that and take it and put it in there and say, hey, they did the traffic stop. We went over policy X. We talked about use of force, that sort of thing. So it tracks all that. to ensure that we're accountability. This program also deals with our performance, and it tracks each officer's performance. So for example, it creates a timeline of what people are doing. So like, hey, Mary, the way you dealt with that traffic stop, you violated that, or you violated the policy, that would go in there. And then when we get ready to do your performance evaluation at the end of the year, it has that in there. So it tracks that throughout the whole year. It ensures that accountability. It also helps, reduce the administrative liability if there's issues going on. We're tracking that. And that's one thing that I find that a lot of places don't do a good job of. And I would say that we do a great job with that. I think Dennis just got all my performance evaluations that I did on my employees in the last year. And, it tracks every incident, that goes in there, positive or negative, right? And even, so it tracks all that to ensure that we're doing the right thing.
Question.
Yes.
So I see all three of these programs are through-year contract, and you said it started in 25.
So last year we got, Yeah.
So this second year, we'll have one more year.
Yeah.
The price that we're seeing, the 15,000, is that per year?
these are the price per year, yeah.
So with this three-year program for these three items, for $35,000.
For the 3 years. Yes, yeah.
And then what we do is move that again for another 3 years.
Yes, yeah, yes. It's a program, and this has all our information in it. So like, I get it. I get what you're saying, but like literally, I don't know what I do without the Power DMS programs. Like they help tremendously with all this.
I think we started this last year, I remember talking about.
They had gotten Power DMS right before I started. So that was right before the actual Power DMS. I brought in that Power Ready and the Power Time. Yes.
I know there were some programs that was probably hiring, that you said, I need these programs, or I'm gonna leave this.
Sure. I mean, this is the world that we're in now as far as technology and that sort of thing, to be able to do the job better. And I think this makes all three of these programs make us do the job better. When I started, they were writing the shifts on the board, and then it was taking time to fill overtime shifts, where that Power Time program basically can shoot out a message and say, hey, there's this open shift. It tracks the force-ins, it tracks our accruals, all that sort of thing. So it's really important, when we look at the Power Time program.
Yeah, I'm not questioning the validity of what software does. I look at price and go, who's their competitors?
Right.
And how do we make sure we're able to continuously evaluate, because it's a constantly evolving field.
Sure.
And
Honest,
yes, maybe other programs within the town, if you have the same umbrella company with all of them, you can actually negotiate better deals the more you buy. So
exactly. So like Power DMS I used in Old Town Police Department, but we used it in the whole town. So I think the same thing. So same thing with the scheduling software. I used the schedule, and it was a different program that we used in Old Town, but the scheduling software was used by us and the fire department. So, but you gotta know how to use these programs too, right? So I watch, and I actually teach Power DMS to people, because you have to know how to utilize it really well. I do it for the Power DMS does so much for me, and keeps track of things and helps things and sets reminders. It actually will tell the sergeant, like he was doing today, you got to do vehicle inventories this today. And then it has workflows that basically sends. So it really keeps things on track. So, and I look for like the evaluation part with Power Ready. It's important.
So these applications could be expanded to include
It could be, obviously it's going to be more money, because I think it's a licensing thing too, right? So some of it's on how many employees that you have, on what that costs.
Some of them also have tiers and clips. The more
Yeah.
users
So the
you
more
have,
users, the
less
better
it
off
costs.
it's gonna be, most of the time.
And power time is the scheduling, I assume then?
Yes, yep. And the last thing in that professional memberships. Yep.
Well, we certainly look into it. This week has been my first experience with this. It's like, baptism by fire.
Did you, I haven't seen you since, have you read those? Yeah.
It's all very neat, very concise. All the incident reports are included. It was,
Yeah, if there's capacity within our existing license, which can, that'd be great, right?
But think about it, if you have a problem employee, if you're not documenting it, it's gonna cost you more money,
Especially if they're in the union.
right? There's ways to deal with things, but you have to document it and it has to, to get there.
Go ahead.
Just the last thing is just the Title 29, Title 17. So Title 29 it deals with traffic and Title 17 deals with criminal law. The laws change every year. We have to buy a book for it.
So you got 11 copies. Is that really necessary?
So each officer has their own copy because each,
I
yeah.
get that. Necessary though.
I say yes, because when I was on the road, I had my own book. I read the thing and I would highlight things and then I put tabs on things that certain things that I'm gonna deal with more often than I'm not gonna do. So there's just so much. It's so good for that officer to have that and to be able to read it and understand it and maybe have that tag for it. Because that's our playbook, right? So if you look at it, that's how we decide whether somebody's getting a criminal trespass,
They get updated annually.
yeah,
So, hey, hold your officer and say, hey.
certainly.
Are
Certainly,
you really using it?
I agree with that, right? Yep. And I think that's something that we probably could do, right?
Do they not have electronic?
They do.
versions?
They do. It's one of those things where like it's on Power DMS too for them. So like honestly, that's how I would rather do it. But I think some of them would like the books. So yeah, probably you could take that off a little. So the other thing that I will tell you that is you could take $2,500 off this amount because when we get accredited, I have a grant that paid that will pay us $2,500 through MMA for being accredited. So basically, it will take off. It's for paying some of that program.
That'll take off the board.
That part of the 9,000.
So not that's been spent. So that's another 2,500. So I got a $5,000 grant. I got $2,500 up front, and then $2,500 when we finish. So that was before we even did the budget last year. I got the 2,500, so that would have helped buy that Power DMS program, and then we can use the 2,500 once we get accredited. And my end goal to be accredited is by summer times.
So that's 2,500 off the hours.
2,500 off something,
Total,
right?
drain total.
So you repeat that 28,549.
Yeah.
26 plus the 704, so. Yeah. 25.5 maybe?
Yeah, because maybe some people will buy a few less. I gotta buy a few less books.
I make a motion for the 25,500.
You have a discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? 11-0. Item 0022, advertising recruitment, Department request $12,975. Go ahead.
So police department being fully staffed. I mentioned last week or week before it's fully staffed.
Yeah.
So why did the funds for improvement? double?
I think I moved the one program into recruitment, which was police app. And the other thing, it didn't get approved last year and I brought it forward. So I brought it forward again this year was internal investigations. So The way we do internal investigations is, so if we have an internal investigation, I cannot investigate this. Because I'm the decision maker. So I need a fact finder. So in other departments that are bigger, they have the deputy chief, right? Somebody that's second in command that could do and I did lots of them when I was in Old Town. And they would investigate and find the facts and come up with a report and give me the report, give the chief the report, and the chief makes the decision. It's a kind of a conflict if I'm doing the investigation and making the decision. So that's a standard practice that law enforcement has. So we use a company, and I'll be honest with you, we've done a couple internal investigations this year. I mean, maybe I have them, maybe I don't. If we're, hopefully I don't, right? I don't want to do internal investigations, but if I have to do them, I'm still gonna have to pay for this. So, I mean, I guess it's one of those things whether just don't put it in the budget and just hope it's okay, or put some money in the budget so that we have that cushion to be able to, because I'm gonna have to do it no matter whether or not I have it or not.
There isn't someone already other than you on board who.
No, it's tough because they're all union employees.
Even the detective?
So minor stuff, yes, right?
Does it have to be a member of you?
No, not to do what this person can do. This person,
So you contract basically that function.
I contract that company out. There's a company called Edgewater that does it. They do an excellent job. He's a retired sheriff. And actually, half the time he lives in Florida, half the time he lives here. He lives in Aroostook County, but he does all those. He does all my backgrounds, and he does all the IAs. So backgrounds being the new employee backgrounds. When he does them, they're very thorough. And he gives me all the facts. And he actually, the last one he did, I would have never been a proponent of doing things Zoom wise, but it was great because when he did them, I was able to watch them afterwards, right? And be able to look and see and hear what he wrote for the report. And it actually helped me tremendous. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I get it and it's doubled. That's where that's coming from.
And his rate is the $80 an hour.
Yes, I believe so. Yes. Yeah. I mean, the last IA he did, and it was pretty extensive IA, and it was around $2,400.
So again, you're funding this line based on what you think you might have to.
I hope
fill
I don't
for
have any,
positions, right,
right? I hope I don't have
currently-
any internal investigation.
right, but no, currently you're a full staff, but you're looking for background checks on 3 and a polygraph and a psychological on 3, assuming you're gonna have 3 new positions that open up. So if we were to cut that down to 1 in each of those categories, would you feel comfortable?
I would feel more comfortable if you did 2.
Can we,
My comfort is 3, but like, I would be okay with 2.
can we cut the internal investigations down to 6?
600?
No, 6 times 80.
Oh, okay, yeah. 6.
Is that what the calculation is there?
Yeah, that would be half, right? Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
So the bottom line is, you do what you have to do. And if the budget goes over, it goes over.
I mean, you could even take it all out
No,
and
I
just,
I
yeah.
understand why you have it. I think it might be a little bit higher than it
Sure.
needs to be.
I hope it is.
Yeah, I agree too.
With polygraph and psychological testing, are those part of bringing up to speed the recent recruits?
Nope,
Mm,
nope, they've already had a
They're already
polygraph
in.
and a site
They're already in,
What polygraph psychological?
hiring
new hires.
new hires.
What was that?
But like you said,
I
there's
just said
always
that.
turnover.
I just said that. That's why I think if we cut it down to, he suggested 2, I thought 1.
I prefer one.
I can't talk about, no, I just can't. Like, 2 would be, I know.
Yeah.
I know over the course of the year, I'm gonna have, there's probably gonna be at least.
So there's three line items.
Yeah, I
that
know,
Seem
I
to
know.
be
Thinking
the
about
same number, the background check, the polygraph and the psychological testing. We bring those down to 2.
Sure.
So that's replacement personnel. effectively. And then
Oh,
your
gosh.
internal investigations
72.
by half.
So instead of 72 hours, that would be 40, 36. I'm gonna put 40, but 36 is good. So 36 times 80 would give us the number you're looking for in that calculation.
Sure, I think that's fair.
So that wearing the same 36.
The internal investigations, 36 hours times the $80 an hour is 28.80.
Oh, yeah, I just divided by 2 and got the same.
Yeah, same thing, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. And so advertising says 12 at 100 each. Do we think we're gonna have to advertise 12 positions?
I don't know why that's like that. I think that's something that's always been in there.
So we could cut that down to 8.
Sure.
Oh, we're happy now.
We're happy now.
Remember this when we go to other ones, so.
Oh, yeah.
Remember it next
And
year. when it's a-
cut it
it's a
where we
percent.
can.
So I get a total of 68.90. Does anybody else get that?
Hang on. I'm a little
Oh,
behind you.
you're a little
Working on it.
behind. Sorry.
And this is for 0012.
I got 8,090. This new total.
800 for the first line for advertising, 850 for the next line,
28.
28.80.
No change to the 1,200.
Oh, I didn't add the 1,200. I'm sorry. I forgot that one. Sorry.
and
I was cutting him.
1260. And then 1,100.
8,090.
8,090.
Make a motion for 8,090.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Number 0. 004 uniforms from request for $26,308.
Assume if they're used, they have to be replaced.
A vest.
Yeah.
A vest is specific to one person. So usually what happens if somebody leaves, I sell that vest to the next department. So I try to get whatever the life is out of that. Usually it's the same thing. If somebody comes from another department, I'll buy their vest from them. It's much easier to do that because it takes several months to get a vest. So
Tailor fitted.
they're tailored. And when I started here, there was people that didn't had vests that were expired. Vests only last 5 years. So whether they could be longer than that, sure, but the manufacturer says 5 years.
What becomes of the best once they're timed out?
Landfill?
Yeah, it's nothing sometimes we keep them for like training. If we're doing like simulation training or something like that, they'll use those so that at least sometimes they take them. So I make every officer has to wear their vest at the range. So sometimes they're rolling around, stuff like that. So if they have an old vest, they can wear that at the range.
So you anticipate that you're gonna have 3 vests for the officers that have to be replaced and 1 for the detective already?
No, the next line's a clothing thing for the detective.
Oh, clothing, that's not a vest.
No.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
yeah, three vests. So that could be. I have 2 people that need vests this year, but I'm also. We go back to the line before, right?
Yeah.
We're dealing with that, so.
I guess I would agree with it. You might need 2 new officer uniforms, so I make a motion for the 26,308.
Seconded, any other discussion? All those in favor? 0. 007 consumable supplies, from request 9,800.
So I will tell you that last year, the building maintenance thing was approved in our budget. And it never made it to the final, but everybody approved. I had it, the manager had it, the budget committee had it, and the council approved it, so if that shows, because I don't know what it showed last year. Yeah. So if you look. I look at it last year, when I look at it, it says. It shows that 4,800 was. Department request, budget committee request, manager request, council request, and then only $3,000.
So is this wages? Because you're going 48 hours times 100. Is that like a contract?
I think that was under building. Building maintenance, so that's just like. So the way our. Rent. Contract is, and we can look at, we're up for this year on it, we'll get to that. But the way the rent contract is we have to fix it.
So you're planning on contracting this out at
Right,
48
so-
hours times
So,
100.
so like things that need to be updated, like I had to fix the door the other day, it wasn't locking, it wasn't latching. Just wear and tear and maintenance on the building.
Last year was budgeted 4,800.
Is it expended? I mean, I know you had the whole remediation thing going on. Was that?
No, in last year's budget amount, it's 3,000.
Right, so it never got added to,
No, the approved budget was 4,800.
yeah. I get,
No, but it's not actually in that line for this budget.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's what it's saying.
and I think it's one of those things where it's hard to. Exactly figure out what's gonna be wrong. I mean, did we expend it? Oh, yeah, we expended it this year. I mean, we were in a trailer for 3 or 4 months. We probably used more than that.
Yeah, you're up to almost at 5,700. So the operational supplies, what do you,
So that's toilet paper,
Oh.
just regular
I see.
stuff that deals with that.
This is not specialized things like fingerprint pads or anything like that.
So. This year, between now and the end of the current fiscal year, what? You anticipate needing?
He's already over.
I know.
Oh,
And honestly, I don't,
So let's call it 5,700 now, we have another 1,000, that's 6,700, but you've asked them for
98.
9,800.
yeah, I, to be honest with you. I don't even know if that is, the correct number. I feel like we spent a lot more than that. This year, just because we had to move out, like, I don't know where some of that money came from, because we rented a trailer,
So,
right?
if I'm hearing you correctly, then there's exceptional expenses this year because of that.
Well, but I don't think it's reflected on that, on what's that 57? I think it's much higher than that. Just don't know what line item, where it is.
Okay, so that may be the case. I wouldn't argue that. Looking ahead to the next year's budget.
Yep.
9,800.
Even compared to what you spent this year.
Yeah, so. Yeah, again, help me out here, but without any data than what I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, I
Seems to be the number more like
78.
It's 79.47, so 79.50 if you round up would be what? Based on that.
Based on what you've already spent. 8,000.
7,500, but
I like 8,000.
fair, I like something. So I make it. Second. I mean, no disrespect.
No, you're good. If you think I thought I was coming out of this and not getting. I'm feeling all right so far, so.
Nothing worse is not having it budgeted and needing to expend it, because then you've got that big
Wages,
don't-
this property.
Yeah,
Well, that's the thing, if it doesn't, it's not
Right.
budgeted, they just comes out under the funds, so.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, any other discussion? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? 11-0.
Okay.
002 wellness, Department of request 10,350.
One question I had is this in the contract at all?
Which part?
The whole, all of it, well, not the department meetings, but the gym membership and the wellness visit, is this
Not yet,
contractual?
not yet.
Not yet, okay.
Oh, so they don't actually have the gym membership yet?
No, they have, we gave it to them last year, but it's not a contractual thing yet. I think you'll find that,
Now that you gave it to them,
well,
they're gonna
no,
expect it.
I think we're asking police officers, I don't want an unfit police officers, so like, it'd be one thing if we had like a legitimate gym in our own facility, although you can't take a shower because there's no shower there. But I mean, if we had our own certain things that we could do, but we don't. So it's like, this is the best option to ensure that people are, that want to take advantage of it. And you can see I didn't put everybody in it because I know there's a few that don't do it and won't do it. So can't force somebody to.
So how many actually use it?
I
It's
think,
like 9.
well, I think seven are using it right now. Right, but you got 2 people in the academy that we're not.
Yeah.
Not doing it for right now, so like, there's gonna be, that's why I said not.
And do they do the gym here in town or do they do it in Millinocket if they live in Millinocket?
There's
They-
most of them that do it in town, but there's others that, can pick their membership.
Is that something that could be, mandated, part of your?
Yeah, so that's a good question, so like, yeah, no,
My son is military.
Yeah.
And got no point.
right. Now, and I agree, and in the early 2000s, a lot of departments were doing that and mandating it. And then I think even the state police had it in theirs that they had to pass a PT test. And then if they weren't past the PT test, you had to follow so many steps and it was such a pain and the unions fought it so bad the other way that it wasn't worth the fight that it was. So,
Just a question on the wellness visits.
Sure.
If they have a health plan, and most health plans have wellness allowances, does ours not? Like, what is this that's outside? of
Awesome,
the insurance?
awesome question. So wellness is, honestly, it's a more newer thing. I started doing it in Old Town before I left, and what it is it's mandating that each officer go talk to the psychologist. And the problem is if I say it's optional, it doesn't happen. And the person that needs to go doesn't go. And if I can say, everybody's gonna go talk to a psychologist, and this is just to do it, then yes, if there's other issues, they can work with them. And sometimes I don't even know because maybe I shouldn't know, right? Unless they make a statement that they want to hurt themselves or others, all I know is they went to the wellness visit and talked to the psychologist. I do it too, just so that I show the troops that I do it. And, they can talk whatever they want about it. And then if there's resources or something else they need more, then yes, then that will move into that and that will work in their health insurance and through the EPA program and stuff like that. But this is just saying, we're going to go to a wellness visit every year and you're going to talk to the psychologist and if you don't want to do it, this is what I always say to the officers, like, you don't want to do it. I get it, but you could be helping somebody else.
And the insurance doesn't cover that because you're mandating it?
I don't think they would cover it. No.
They'd have to have a referral, I think, from their primary, which is what normally happens in an insurance
Yeah.
company.
They even,
But there's usually like EAP programs with 8 visits in most health plans, but
No, that's,
Right,
No, I
he
know,
wants the
but you can-
mandatory for protection for
Yeah.
everybody.
I think that's where that's a good question, and I never thought of it that way.
I'm not questioning the
Yeah.
need for it. I'm just questioning we're paying for health insurance that usually includes these kind of things. Why isn't it already something that they're able to take advantage of under their current insurance?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I can always follow up on that too. I know that all the other agencies that do it are paying for it out of the pocket. Because
Maybe you can lead the way to a better.
Right? I like to be the leader in some
I'd be
things.
adding it to the next negotiation, Dennis. with the health- health insurance carrier.
The the money is in there for department meetings and.
Mhm.
Or I'll.
So those are just times where we have incidents where they're prolonged, or we have meetings and, you know, for example, the officer involved shooting, we had a meal, right? Like, so those sorts of things, so that we have that ability to, it helps with morale too. Like, so if we're having a long incident or we're doing something, I can buy pizza. Like, it's, and I mean, I'll tell you that when I first started here and we had that police involved shooting, I got grief over buying them a meal when we had our, officer talk with the whole department. Like, it's just little things like that make go a long ways. It's not a big task to be able to do that every once in a
But I think we do have a wellness program with our insurance plan where you can ask for
Yes.
grants for just those type of things, where you can offer a meal and a meeting.
Yeah, the wellness money, I know all goes to that safety day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. So you couldn't have a double dip into the wellness.
No.
money.
I'll make a motion for the department request $10,350.
That's true. It's not.
Holy cow.
It wasn't even on the 10
No, this is a brand new, well, I
brought
think
this
it's
last
FY
year.
25,
Yeah.
yeah, 26. So you'll make that correction, Dennis, to put it on that summary sheet? Did somebody second that, George?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I'm looking at our current expenses, our current budget, current budget. 67. 80. And we only expended a little over half of that.
Yeah, we just did the wellness. We're doing those right now, so I haven't been.
So that's the difference of the well.
Yeah.
But what's new in this budget that you didn't have in last year? Because you only asked for 6780 last year.
It's that $3,300.
Oh, it's the 3300. Oh,
Yeah, the wellness is
Okay.
were a little bit more than what I
Okay.
thought. Or what I had.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All those, anyone opposed? 11-0. 0030, equipment maintenance, department request $14,039.
I have something, George.
Okay, go ahead.
This computer maintenance that you have budgeted, I thought all of the maintenance for our computer system came under Motor Brain, which is in the finance department.
This, and I apologize if it's maintenance. So this is for some of those computers that we have. I don't understand.
Goes for replacement of obsolete equipment.
So that should probably go under equipment purchase then, right?
Sure.
So this is actually buying new computers. Okay, so we're gonna move 3,700 out there and put it in the next line, maybe.
Where do you want to put that equipment?
In the
purchase?
next line down, the
Okay.
equipment purchase. So all of the other things are just to maintain what we currently have. Like the mobile radio and the portable radio batteries, and the
Yeah.
radar maintenance.
And I will tell you. Again. You look at last year's,
Holy cow,
it was 13,
yeah,
Okay.
we're up to 16.
but. Again, firearms training approved by everybody. and it never ended up in the,
Oh, my God.
so I didn't catch it till after the budget, and obviously there's something, you know. We need that.
There's gotta be something wrong with the budget if it's not balancing to what was approved by the council.
This one.
How can this happen? Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Where does the money go?
I'll make a motion for the $10,339. Is moving $3,700 for the second.
What was that again? 10,000?
$10,339.
Okay.
Second.
So, before we vote, the $7,000 materials for firearm training. Is that's ample?
Yes.
So, shouldn't it be a component of the plot? I know we've already gone past.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I guess if a majority of you think that, then next year when I do it, I could put it that way. I mean, I guess I don't.
It is the training, because to me, it's in the wrong place.
Yeah, it was in training before that, and I
Yeah.
didn't like it in training because it was actually, it's not training, it's actual
Material. So so maybe supplies would be better, yeah.
Okay.
Next year,
I'll put that note.
did we get a second on that, Joe?
Yes.
Who was that? Dave, okay.
All those in favor? 0. Item 0031, equipment purchase, department request 37,000. Exactly.
Yeah, we gotta add that 3,700.
It is 40,984.06.
How about we take the 06 off?
There's an odd number.
Well, both the cents aren't even shown.
Yeah, I think just the 40,984 would be good, huh? So you're asking to purchase a new drone in this budget here?
Yeah, I can explain that. So the drone that we have, we got on a grant. It's a huge drone. It does everything outside we need to do. But this one that's the small one, it's able to clear structures, clear warehouses, you know, things that we might not have to put an officer in that. And be able to safely go through and do different things to clear like a confined space and clear, you know, if we have an incident where we have somebody outside with a gun, we could, you know, or they're right inside their house, you know, you could, and there's an open door or something like that, you can go in there. So
it can go in places where your current drone.
right, the current drone's probably, I mean, it's this big, you know, and this one's a little tiny.
You're already trained to
Yes,
be
the
able to
officer-
operate them,
Yeah,
so
he's, well, yes, he's trained on, he's got his license on that and it's insured through MMA.
and the other thing that's new this year is the cruiser video system.
Okay, so yeah, there's two parts of this, so. So we have to have the ability for the cruiser system to work in the cars, so that's the cradle point. So what a cradle point is, so right now in our cars, there's SIM cards in each computer, right? And the computer has the ability to be on the internet. That takes the SIM card out of the computer and makes the car, like the cradle points, like a server at your house, right? So, and then that server would run the cruiser camera system. So that's, in order to have the cruiser camera system, you have to have a server program to run that.
Does
So-
that get transferred from vehicle to vehicle with you on it?
It does, yeah,
So that's the one time.
for as long as the life.
Wow.
After a while, you know, I had the same ones in Old Town and I mean, I never replaced them.
So this is one cradle point?
No, this is the. This is for the 6 points.
Six?
No, five, sorry, five.
Five.
So we wouldn't expect to see that, in the future. But
Yeah, again, these are ones where I think these are capital budget items, but I
Those something, you know, from cruising.
yes, yeah, it's like the server, whatever you have for a Wi-Fi thing, and it's almost like a Wi-Fi thing and you have in your house, right?
then, the block.
Yeah, yeah.
Use them at gas, they're in gas, use them for backup.
And-
So later.
Well, it's not the camera, it's just basically the router pretty much that runs it. So, and it actually has an antenna, so the computers can actually work better because it'll have a higher, ability to,
Basically turns your vehicle into a Wi-Fi system.
it does, right? And so like with our body cams, anywhere there's a Wi-Fi system, so like I go back to the station and it automatically uploads. So same thing with, if they're in their cruiser, this will automatically always be up.
So the new cruisers that you got, don't have like they have Wi-Fi built in them?
No, so they have the SIM card in the computer. So there's two parts to this. If we want the in-car video system, which is later, you have to have this part, you have to have this part in order to run the in-car video system.
Actually, put this putting this, because looking at the next part. The video system in the capital.
It's in contractual services.
Okay.
Holy cow. Oh, because it's
It's
a lease? Or
pretty
it's a
much.
lease to purchase.
So two parts, right? So one, it's just like the body cams. You're purchasing the system, but then you're also purchasing all the information that gets uploaded into the cloud. Like we don't have our own server, it gets uploaded and we pay for that service. But it's a pretty standard thing now with all these body cams and all these in-car video systems you're not using your own server. You're using their server.
Yeah, video takes a lot of storage and
Yes.
they make a lot of money. on the cloud.
Yeah, so it's a niche. It's just like the software programs, like,
Question, you mentioned earlier that, the vision is to have an AED into the cruiser and buy.
So there's 5 frontline cruisers, yeah.
So
I put 7 on this to put 1 in the cruiser that I have as an AD, and the detective cars would have an 8,
What is an AED? I'm sorry.
automatic external defibrillator.
right? So like if you're
Oh,
having,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so
So there's no grant money for that?
I've tried for a year. I mean, I feel like I've done a good job. So, I mean, like I'll keep trying too, if you don't want to put that in there, it's just,
Well, I'm not opposed to the AEDs. I think they're a great tool. But I'm wondering if we can spread that cost over 2 or 3 years,
sure, we could buy a couple, then buy, yeah.
just, we don't need to.
And
Buy everything.
it's one of those things where like you don't need them till you need them, right? And so it's like one of those things, right?
Training.
We don't need to trade on them.
Oh,
Yeah.
They're automatic and they prompt you
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah.
They act literally speak to you as you're.
Yeah, when I did CPR training with them this year, we did AED training.
If we didn't buy them all at once, they wouldn't all be outdated at once either.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, and I've gone through 2 cycles of them, and it's another gimmick where the battery probably costs more than the machine, and then you're buying another machine because the battery doesn't work anymore. So, yeah, I mean, I think if you wanted to spread those out and work on that, I think that's.
yeah, I think we should probably put 2.
Related question, I've gone through the EMS call. Heart issues for a much smaller share of their life than this, much smaller.
Sure.
How often does the police department need to
Yeah, great question. I've used it in my personal time. And when I was on the road, probably in 10 years, I used it 4 times, maybe 3 or 4 times. I mean, I guess it's no different than I look at it as the taser. I've never actually shot somebody with a taser, but I think these still.
And when that unit is needed, how often is a police vehicle going on?
I think that's hard to tell too. Like I always joked with EMS, and when I was in my previous thing, that I'd get to the thing and I'd press the thing, and because it won't shock unless it has a rhythm, right? So I'd press the button. I'm like, this thing never works, but it was, it just won't work unless you have some sort of heart rhythm. So yeah, I mean, but in the last couple years ago, I watched where the officer got there first, and it was probably less than 5 minutes away from the fire station, but they got the AED on, got the guy back to life before the fire department. It's so hard to.
It's classic insurance, right? When you don't need it, you always have too much, and if you do need it, you always never have enough.
Right. Like it, and that's why I never asked for it last year. And I get it. It's one of those things where I'm like, you might need it, you might not need it. Like I just feel, but it's a pretty standard thing that's in police cars.
And I'm just looking at it in terms of, we can talk about how many we need, but if I look at the number of 7,
Mhm.
we bought 7, would we not get a discount?
This is the price that I got when I actually asked for a quote. So the company that I got, that's what they gave me for. This is a deal compared to when I looked at them before I got a quote, they were much more because
I know these things are not cheap.
yeah, they were much more than that a piece.
But Philip's small ones run about, they're actually, I was just looking at special, so the better, the better ones are about 1,200 each. So, but they need to be portable and all the rest of it. They are one of those things that as the tech gets better, the price actually comes down.
Right.
Because it's not the material cost that's.
I've never seen that, but
Well, maybe you
Taste some
taser.
taste of it.
right.
Somebody dialed 911 and says, we have a heart issue. Does the police department get
They should be.
towed?
But they get tone? No, but they should be seeing that. They're riding in their car, they're gonna see that call came up. They can see it. And then they're listening to the radio too. They should have that on their scan function, so they should be hearing that. So but that's actually a great question, because we can actually make it a protocol that does. It's an individual thing for each department with Penobscot Dispatch.
But EMS is notified that somebody is having a heart issue, they're gonna respond to that,
Yes,
and you have. Your 2 cruisers could be anywhere within 75 square miles.
sure. I mean,
EMS or
Well,
Yeah.
unless they're out on a run,
They
right?
could be even
So-
closer than the.
but right, like, but if they're like out, way out somewhere, Curtis Farm Road, right? They're already doing patrol on Lee Road. I mean, that's a long time that it's gonna take the ambulance to get there, and there's nothing worse as a police officer getting there before the ambulance and not being able to feel like you could do it, right? And you can do CPR and stuff, but I mean, that AED makes all the difference. But I certainly understand, slowly moving this.
If they're buying portable and you've only got 2, well. Apparently don't have 2 officers on shift, but in an ideal world, you had 2 officers on shift. They each have a cruiser at the same time.
Right.
Could you not move them from vehicle to vehicle, at least initially, and you can
Yes.
phase in?
I will say, yes, that could happen. It's one of those things where we all probably have had employees, right? Like, and sometimes they forget to bring them in, and then the last thing they're thinking of is, I need my AED. They're thinking, I got my rifle, I got, but then it's getting them into that mindset. Hey, we need to make sure that AEDs in the car. It's the same thing with AEDs in the wintertime, you need to bring them.
Yeah.
Because, it's cold, like, and getting them to do that too it's always been a struggle.
Well, it seems to me like it would be new to the department to have those.
Yes.
Having a couple, 2 or 3 to begin with would be a worthwhile learning experience before we decide to buy.
Yeah, and I'm gonna continue looking because I feel like it's a bigger need than just the police department. We don't have them anywhere. Like, we should have one in the town office. We should have one in the fire department, have one in public works. It's a bigger issue than me, but it's a start.
Our ambulances must have.
Yes.
Like, can't imagine.
Yeah.
So we have 2 cruisers on the road.
Two, and when you got that supervisor, finally, you got the supervisor and the 2, you can have the overlap. There could be 3 of them.
I move we spread them over. It's 42 some of our units.
Can
I'll
you
second
explain the other items in here, the Alpha Card Pro?
Yeah, so the Alpha Card Pro is for our concealed weapons permits and our employment cards. So what we have is very old and it just needs to be replaced. So that does all the concealed weapons permits that we print. And it does every police officer has to have an ID. Actually, then we haven't made it over yet, but Brittany's on vacation, but then employees also have an ID. We print them IDs as well.
Okay, and then you mentioned something in your, for the office furniture, you plan on buying file cabinets?
So we have one file cabinet that I bought, and then just they're expensive because they're ones that lock. So all that criminal stuff, even in the police station, the best practice is to have them locked all the time. So,
How big are we going to filing cabinet?
so the one that I have, it's not like a regular filing cabinet. It's kind of almost like the doctor's filing cabinet.
Lateral.
Yeah, and they go this way,
Yeah.
and it has the name of the person, the year, that sort of thing. And I've already filled one, and it didn't even really.
Does it have to be the wide one? Could it be 2 or 3 short, narrow one?
Not with the way we do our filing system. It's just that way. When I got here, I did it that way because you can look at the name, you can look at the year, you can look if it's closed out. You can go back and look at that sort of stuff. So that's why I have it that way.
So this is how many filing cabinets for 3,000?
It's probably,
3?
I think it's 2, but I think I think we added a little bit just for miscellaneous things. If we needed to replace a chair, if we needed to replace something else, that's what that was for.
Okay. And we're replacing our rifles with 2 brand new ones?
So
Or this is 2 additional?
2 additional.
So is it 2 for a total of 2,700 or 2,700?
No, so it's the 2 for 2,700.
13.
Yeah, 13.
Looking back on FY26 for the first 9 months, to date, we spent about just under 68,000. And the budget was only 13,000.
Oh, yeah.
50,000
So
was somewhere.
maybe that's where some of my
Is that where your trailer rent went?
maybe. But also, I think when we look back at, and I noticed this when I was doing the budget, was the professional memberships got taken out of the wrong line, I think. So some of, because I don't think if you look at my professional membership,
Yeah.
I hadn't spent very much
Yeah.
on that, which is not true.
Or this could be the amount that you spent on your grant and the grant money hasn't come in yet. See that credit line? That's where the money.
Yes, that's true too, because that's where I would have taken out, like my $34,000 for, I got a grant for radios, right?
Right, so
And
that's
then I got the
probably,
$25,000 grant for, and for, the evidence room. And I know that hasn't come back. So I,
So you're gonna have to make sure that the money doesn't get put in the FY 27 budget if it comes in after July, because it's actually money that's already been spent.
Who track when the grant committee, when somebody comes up and tells you this money in?
yes, I double check to make sure the grant money's come in. Where it gets put sometimes, I don't know. Like I
That'd be a
honestly,
good question to ask though, because I think
Right.
that's where it's supposed to go, is
Yeah.
in that credit line.
and I shared with, Miss Mayo earlier, she asked for the grants, what they've
Yeah.
been spent on. So I mean, like, I know when the money comes in because I try to pay attention to that. But I just don't know where they're going, where it's coming, where it's going once I get it. Because I'm not seeing, I'm not on that part of it.
Who does that?
It would be on finance,
Treasurer.
yeah.
Treasurer takes care of that.
But somebody on the bring that their attention, make sure it's not been shuffled
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah, we can ask
Well,
that
she-
question when her budget
He
comes up.
just said that he answered the phone by call. We have. But it would be the treasurer.
Yeah.
It would be mine. You're like, someone.
So if I kept up with this, we struck the AEDs to 2, which now makes a total of 3,900. Alpha cards 27, the cradle point system still the same. Drones the same, office furniture's the same. The rifles, and then the addition of the computer purchase of 3,700. So I now have 31,240.
You got-
not,
Whoops. Go ahead.
Really beg somebody to check my math.
You got the office furniture at 3,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had 31, 234, but that's with $6.
Right?
I want to go back to the cradle points.
Sure.
We don't currently use videos. But
So the only video system that we have is this,
body cam.
right? So, and I will say that it's not, actually, it's not added, but it doesn't fill the whole picture, right? So if we get in a police chase, we had a police chase, right? I'm watching the video and I'm watching steering. So I'm not seeing what's going on. I actually was the head person on the shooting in Bangor to review the policies and stuff and review that situation. And the AG's office deals with the crime part as far as whether or not the justified shoot. But we look at every department, and we had it done to us, was when there's a police shooting, a police chief, a lieutenant from state police, a mental health person, and a citizen all have to sit on a review board. And you're evaluating performance. Performance, yeah. So performance policies, are the policies in place? Did they do the right thing? Do they need more training? And in that incident that happened on Broadway, they have body cams, they have cruiser cams. Well, the cruiser captured the whole thing. And just to think, like, just the reliability piece of it is catching that. The same thing, like if we get in a police chase and we get in a crash, I'm not gonna be able to see what exactly happened. So it's really important to have that extra thing. And these two will talk to each other. So like the body cam talks to the cruiser cam, so they work together.
I hear you. Something nice to have, but I don't think that move that we strike them
Yeah, I mean,
and the related items.
yeah, I would disagree on the cruiser cam just because of the amount of liability of we can capture in that cruiser cam. I mean, it's a pretty standard thing that most police departments have both body cams and cruiser cams. I didn't bring the cruiser cams last year. I was trying to just, ease us into that a little bit. That's why I brought the cruiser cams this year.
Is there a middle ground? Equip, again, like we talked with the AEDs, equip some of the equipment this year, some next year. You know,
I think that's top. Maybe don't have it in some. Go down to 4. I mean, if that's a compromise to that, I mean, I feel like that's she's less likely to have the need for a cruiser cam than those frontline for.
So then the number. So if you divide 13,734 by 5, that's would be the number you would reduce it by?
Yeah.
If you had, okay. And do we need 2 rifles this year? Is there some way we can just budget for 1 rather than 2?
Sure.
Okay.
You know, compromising, I am.
I feel like.
It's his last day possible.
Well, I wanted you really looking at the camera. If you go to 0108.
Sure.
Correct me if I'm not looking at this correctly, but here, car camera, the 5-year contract. And it's going to be $15,624 a year. So after 5 years, we're gonna have $78,000.
Yeah, and so. Now that if we're gonna talk about that, so the one thing that I'll say is the grant that I got for the LPR system that's through a federal grant, it's $565,000 that I got. It can only be used for certain things. I think I've heard $565,000. So that money might be able to be used for the camera system. I don't know that for sure, and it'll pay the whole camera system for that 5 years. Now, we're gonna have costs later on, 5 years from now, but like, so I don't know. There's ways to look at this, I guess. There's ways that we could look at maybe if there's money in this budget, doing this year, seeing if I can get that to go through the grant and then use that. If I can't, then I would come back next year with the budget committee and we'd have to put it in there. But that's one way to.
For that grant though, like, I mean, can you find $565,000 from the budget to find out of that grant?
No.
No.
No, it's specific for license plate readers. And so the cameras might be able to fit underneath that. But other than that, nothing else.
Isn't there a law in the state of Maine that you can't have license plate readers on the street lights or the traffic lights?
It depends where they are, who owns them. So if the state owns the light, and this is a governor thing, she won't let him be on that.
The state owned traffic lights.
But anything else, and Versant allows them to be on. So.
But I think the state probably purchased them the first time, but I think the town has to maintain them and then replace them if they're replaced, right, Dennis? Have we done that in the past?
True.
But we don't have that here in town.
What's that?
No, I understand we don't
No,
have,
but that's part of the grid, right?
we don't have them now, but. So you're saying the federal government will give you money to put license plate readers in the cars, but does the state of Maine allow that to
Yes.
occur?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I had license plate readers in cruisers in Old Town.
Okay,
So.
so you're thinking that if we don't fund this line item this year, you could get your grant to cover it. Because you would need it to have
So,
the license plate
what I'm-
readers
yeah.
work,
What I'm saying is to spend money out of this year's budget,
okay?
obviously,
Put it in this year's budget,
no,
this
this
year's. budget.
year, right?
27.
Right. No, I'm talking about, so spending, we're currently spending money on. Obviously, we have extra money that would be in the overtime. I haven't spent the overtime, right? So if you took that 15,000 and purchased it for the first year, you could skip and not put any money in it this year. We still got to buy the prayer points, but you could skip it this year. And then if the grant funds the rest of it, grant will fund the rest of it. If it doesn't, then when I come back to 28's budget, we'd have to put it in.
You're really thinking you're gonna have a lot of extra money, because if this grant money doesn't come in, your equipment purchase is
The grant
already.
money is approved.
Yeah, but it's already, your line item for equipment purchase in this year's budget is already over 50,000. If that grant money doesn't come in, you're already gonna be short.
What I'm saying is the overtime's over budgeted this year. The overall budget, I'm gonna
Okay.
be fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right, so let's take that right out then. Okay, so
We're taking one out.
the 13,000.
Well, so Go back.
No,
Create the
No.
point money is not, that's not something that won't be funded by the federal grant. When you go to the contract for services,
Oh, that
That will
amount,
be-
okay,
okay,
okay. So when I review this, what we've cut and what we've added, I come up with 29,884.
is that with 4 Cradle points?
That's with 5.
Okay.
You're saying you can do 4?
Well, that was a discussion point at one
That
point.
makes that line item 10,988.
Oh my
And I
God.
would agree with that and then if I can get the grant funding, I can,
Okay, let's start again.
So I get 27,137, that's one rifle, that's for the cradles,
Well, that was my next point. Yeah, I
That's
was gonna
two
ask about one
eighties.
rifle. Yeah,
Was that amount?
27,137.
I make a motion for the 27,137.
oh my God.
Just checking the math.
I got, oh my God, over here.
Uh,
It's right.
I think you should check that math.
27,138,
I got 137, but
27,138.
Rounding to 06, either up or down.
That's down.
yeah, that's that.
I make a motion for the 27,138.
second,
Oh, boy.
Any other discussion? Well, while we're here, does that mean we're gonna pare back the car camera number, or we just gonna drop that?
I think that's what,
Right, like, if I can buy it out of this year,
yeah,
spend it out of
That's
this
what
year's
you're
budget, right,
assuming.
like, then. We can force, like, take it
Mm.
out for 27.
We-
And then revisit it if I don't get the grant.
So, but do you need one cradle per car camera?
Yeah.
So we'll buy 4 car cameras rather than. So
Correct,
we're on the
yeah.
right.
okay, we haven't had a vote yet.
And I'll have to check that because that'll be the Axon thing. I don't know if you can just take and divide that by 5. I don't know. I'd have to look at the breakout of that, so I'll have to figure that out, but yes.
So ballpark number, we're gonna allocate $12,500 for the car cameras. That's 4 cameras.
We ain't there yet.
Any other discussion?
Page 47.
Oh.
The line item is 0108.
And where are we looking?
Car
Yes, it's
cameras.
Car cameras. So that would be reduced by what?
Kind of what I,
3124.
and I'll
How did you
do
get
it how we
that?
want, but like, how I'm saying is. I
Is
take
that
it,
completely gone out of the budget?
you completely take it out, because I'll buy it out of this year's budget,
Oh, so we're gonna take the 15,
and then if I can get the grant. Then we don't have to worry about it in the next year's budget, but if I do get the grant, if I don't get it, that won't fit in the grant. Then when we come back in 27, hopefully you'll all be here.
28, you mean,
28, yeah, then I'll be able to, we'll put that back in.
we can justify it then.
All those in favor?
So again, we're striking
15.
15, yes.
We're not there yet.
Not there.
All those in favor?
27,138. It's
0.
Yikes.
Just to circle back on the grant that you talked about.
The 500, yeah.
I apologize, is that public information?
Yep.
Because I saw the 90,000 on the website, I didn't see anything about 500.
Yeah, because I haven't got it yet. So it's been approved. I got it through appropriation spending through Susan Collins' office.
Poor Kelly.
And then
It was on town file.
Yeah, it was on.
I got it.
Where
I got it approved to get it. I've signed up. But it's the federal government, so the next step is just a whole lot of process. Like I had to refill out information, then I'm gonna have to go in and put in more information in, like there's jobs for people to run these grants on the federal side. So I have that, I got that money. Or I shouldn't say I got that money, it's been approved.
It's approved to spend for what kind of thing?
So for license plate type stuff, so license plate readers, so those, like the cameras, that's part of what they do, is they read license plates on those car cameras. but also to do like fixed locations. So, and then also to do like trailers. So we'd have, it would be a speed trailer and a LPR reader. And the purpose of that is to, you know, if we had a school incident, this helps with the school thing, you know, with a school incident, if there was a car that we're looking for, if there's a silver alert, which is an elderly person missing, like where did they go? Which direction did they go? Did they leave town? Did they not leave town? It helps with our drug situation. Like there's I should say lots, but there's certain cars that we're looking for that continue to come in town. It's going to help us be able to, you know, figure out that pattern. So.
The sunset clause on when you have so much time to spend this money or qualify to spend this money.
I think there is, but it's within a few years.
So once you gather all that information, can you make that public to?
I share, so if you look at my monthly reports, and they're always, and I update them on the website, but they also go to council. That information, I do feel like I do a really good job on my monthly reports and share that information with the council, but you can also read it by going to my website and clicking on that monthly report. So it's in last month's monthly report, I think. Because I break it out and I talk about different things.
I think what I heard you say is the federal level component that hasn't been cleared.
Well, it's been cleared, it's been approved. I actually put in for this a couple years ago in Old Town and it got all the way to the president's office and he didn't sign it. It's all signed, it's approved.
Oh, it hasn't.
Yep. It's been through all
It's
this.
just with the federal government, they hold up on the money for a while until
I
they.
mean, honestly, it's like my best grant. Every year you're supposed to get money for vests and I haven't got it this year. For some reason, they haven't released it. It's the first time I've ever seen that in 10+ years. So like it's supposed to fund half the vests, but they're not doing that for some reason.
Elon Musk.
Ah.
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Well,
There's,
shall we
I
move on?
know it sounds weird, but typically they approve it and then they come back and say, okay, this was high level. Now tell me in detail how you're
Yep.
gonna spend this.
Yep.
Right. And then they sign off on basically the plans. They don't like your plan. And I think that's probably where you're going with whether or not the car cameras will fall under it.
Do we want to pause it now or do
I
we?
think now would be a good time to stop. I think we can pick it up on.
Can I just mention one thing? There's 3 other things that's not on the front sheet either. 0051. There's a 2025 Ford Explorer there. 0063, the phone replacement, and 0108 is T-Mobile.
What was that last one? I'm sorry.
0108.
Well, the
Services.
names are there, they're just the numbers not there. I'm not sure why.
Ford Explorer is rent. If you look back here, and get rent. Not
Yeah.
Ford Explorer.
And that's that lease program again.
So that,
Yeah, so that looks like that cover sheet needs a little bit of updating. Oh,
Was
she
missing
did the whole thing.
contractual services. 0108, what was it?
the T-Mobile, they get it
I can,
as
mention-
Since T-Mobile instead of
Yeah.
contractors.
instead of the contract.
yeah, the name is there instead of the words of the department.
Oh, yeah.
The number's missing and the actual name of the department, the line item.
Yeah, well, like that 2025 Ford Explorer ought to be a capital. item,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Never
exactly.
purchased a car,
Who,
it's under expense.
well, I would ask this question, Dennis, not that we don't need to spend any more time on it tonight, but these leases can be considered debt service, right? They should be listed under the debt service line item because these are debt that we've incurred. We've signed a contract. They shouldn't be in capital. They shouldn't be in operational. They should be under debt service.
Yeah. We put them in both places, but
I think the issue is anytime the budget can be changed, the council changes. So
Well,
that's.
Yeah, and
Well,
last year
I
was
would think you ask the auditor this question and maybe they can come up with, this is a good policy to have and
The auditor, the one told, put the lease expense in our operating.
That just doesn't make sense.
Remember Bronson from the people.
Yeah.
It does not need any discussion. Sure. Be something to think about later. Going backward a little bit, back to the gym membership. And we did round numbers to make it easy. If we're spending $5,000 a year for a membership, we're gonna continue that. Say over 5 years, that's 25,000. Would it make any sense at all instead of paying for a service that is on at the end of the year? Instead, put that same amount of money into the equipment at the end of 5 years. Instead of no membership, now there's a gym with
Yeah.
There's no space.
Where are you gonna put it though?
Right, that's fine.
Well, the fire station, there must be extra rooms. right?
Well, so we'll certainly get into that a little bit, but yeah,
But just a quick question.
I totally agree with you. I think, and there's grants out there for that. There just needs to be the space to be able to do it.
We talked about that a little bit last year. We were renting. If someday we could get a new building, it would be nice.
Absolutely.
Oh, and they have their brand new police station built in their house.
Right.
We'll reconvene Tuesday, 6 o'clock here. We'll do the fire department first, the chairman, and then back to the police.
Can Les and I fight over that?
Let's go in a few minutes.
I think there's a lot of done in their taxes.
I know, I have some for the board, but I didn't know we had any. No, I get it. Yeah.
Wait a minute.